So this discussion is on whether these companies should have exclusive rights to these vaccines, whether that's a hindrance to its distribution, and what is one or the other? What is the best way to help increase distribution of the vaccines? Right, because I think everyone here would agree that we have a problem at this point in time. I don't think I will get any disagreements there. But on the best way to go forward, I think we have a bit of a that's where the debate will lie. My side is includes myself, Red Charlotte, and DemonMama. The losing team includes Feline Father, Kobe. It's a
Hey, why
metaphor
do you
for
say
Sharpie.
first?
Just messing with you, buddy. But yeah, we'll maybe do introductions each person, right? Like just a minute, a long introduction, and we'll move on. We'll start with the other side. So Feline Father.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Feeling Father here. So I do a lot of COVID-19 based content here. I've been covering the pandemic for about almost a year now. I am on the ass end of my microbiology degree, and I'm planning on studying the human microbiome in the future. A lot of what I've been doing is I've been trying to insert myself into right wing and fringe ideology groups to try and convert them, try and talk them down a cliff, right? In the beginning, it was running great because I had my time. I wasn't pressed, right? I was able to talk to them for days and months and weeks, right? And I was able to convince some people. But now we're at a point where it's like seconds matter now. Literally, people are dying every second. And I'm here today to try and advocate for pro IP, right? Because I'm trying to clear the discourse, right? Clear the discourse of COVID-19, right? To make way for the discussion that we need to have now to better help those that are dying today. I'm pro IP, not in the sense of some kind of capitalist ideology, but more from the frame of wanting to do what the best we can right now, because right now it's an emergency, and we don't have time to do the, open it up, and we don't have time to mess with it. The systems we have right now is the best way forward to save the most amount of people.
Thanks so much. All right, Red Charlotte, please.
Yeah, I'm I don't think that companies should be able to have a monopoly on life-saving drugs, especially when many countries around the world have the industrial capacity to simply make vaccines. And I've read something that India has the capacity to literally make 2 billion doses in 1 year. Whether Modi is stopping that is a different argument to whether or not the vaccine companies are also equally liable for not just giving the formula to local manufacturers and distributors across the world, as if they don't have their own FDAs and safety regulations.
Thank you so much. Next, Kobe.
Yeah, I would like to. I think a lot of these discussions can kind of go in circles because sometimes it can be difficult. It can be like a sunken cost fallacy. You can be difficult to lay out what we need to change your opinion. So, like I said, I kind of have my three main things, the most safe vaccine that we can ensure to the most amount of people in the quickest amount of time. That's basically it. Looking into it, it seems as if the things that are really holding it up is the ability to actually produce the vaccine, not and which is a lot harder than I think a lot of people imagine. It's not just the recipe; it's having the equipment, it's having the people that work that equipment, and on top of that, it's having all the various other crafting ingredients that you need to make the final vaccine. The mRNA thing is a medical miracle, and it is a new thing, and hopefully it's going to save a lot of lives and going forward. But we have to build up that we have to build up that reservoir of industrialization first, and we just don't have that, unfortunately, because of colonialism. A lot of these countries, India and Brazil, being in South Africa, which are three countries that have had the biggest problem with this, being three of them. Well, these were all underdeveloped countries. When they were industrialized, they were not industrialized like Switzerland or France or Germany or America was industrialized, where we industrialized with all these advanced technologies. They don't. They have very, very crude, many of these countries make very, very crude infrastructure. And that's the thing. It seems as if, from my research, it seems as if the real thing that we should be focusing on is America and other countries hyping up or getting up our exportation numbers. We need to be giving out vaccines. We can do this. I think that's what we really, if we want to focus on my three pillars, that's what we should be doing. So
okay, we'll go back and forth between the two sides. So we'll go to DemonMama next.
Yeah, I've talked about this issue a lot in recent weeks. While I will agree with people who will say that the IP is not the preeminent concern, I do believe it is a concern that we should take seriously. There is a multiple reasons why we should consider waiving things like IPs on life-saving vaccines that are combating a patent, or that are combating a pandemic. And one of the reasons, and I think this is probably the best reason, that is a show of good faith. It means that no nation on the planet has to worry about potentially facing a lawsuit from a multinational corporation. We have done this in the past, such as with the polio vaccine. And hey, wow, it turns out that part of that process helped us basically eliminate polio from the planet. I think that there is a lot of unfortunate and often unintentional sort of American supremacy in the idea that like only we have the capability to produce an mRNA vaccine when it wasn't even originally done by us. We've just created a couple of stable versions that are particularly good. And I think that we should be getting on board as many countries as possible, even if immediately waiving the IP doesn't instantly add multiple, supplies of this vaccine to other countries. I think it's very important that we start the gears turning so that these countries can get their production on the road as fast as possible, and so that we can prepare for future pandemics, which are inevitably going to come with the state of health around the world. I also think that we should take a proactive approach, that we should take vaccines and global health initiatives very seriously and give out to other countries with no questions asked universalized guides, universalized formulas, and universalized inspection standards that countries can use as a starting point to build their own, industries if they don't have them already. This would go so far to changing the way that we approach global health, that I don't think that many of us can even imagine what that type of world would look like. So I support very much the waiving of these sort of IP protections, both as an act of good faith and because it takes power out of the hands of the corporations who have no right to have a total monopoly over even their own proprietary recipe for a life-saving medication that combats a global pandemic. So that's my position.
Thanks so much. Metaphor.
Okay, so I wrote something real quick, so I'll read that and then make a couple comments off the cuff. So if you don't like this, it doesn't get any better. So COVID vaccine IP should not be waived. This is not a solution to the current problem. It serves only to distract people from real solutions. Waiving IP for COVID vaccines will at best do nothing and at worst cause demonstrable harm to the world. This harm will manifest in many ways, but the three primary ways it will present itself are as follows. One, this will lead to an increase in the amounts of ineffective, dangerous, and/or counterfeit COVID vaccines around the world. Two, already stressed supply lines and limited raw materials for vaccine production will cause production worldwide to slow as inexperienced and ineffective manufacturers reach their hands into the pot. Third, reduced effective vaccine supply will create mutation hotspots where COVID will mutate into new strains, rendering more and more of our current vaccines useless while simultaneously removing the incentives for industry to develop new vaccines. I think a much stronger option, which we should employ, is for developed countries to fund manufacturers that already exist across the globe to ramp up our existing production. It may cost more money, but studies have found this to be much more efficient. We should be pushing for more funding for the WHO so that they can coordinate with pharmaceutical companies and set up new manufacturing facilities in these developing countries and train new personnel under their oversight, which is something that they're already working to do and are already collaborating with many of the pharmaceutical companies right now. And if our eventual goal is to get the whole world vaccinated as quickly and safely as possible, this is how we accomplish that goal. This is what I've written. I just want to remind everybody a few things real quick. Companies are going to manufacture the vaccine regardless of IP or not. So this notion that like removing IPs are going to stop companies from making it. This isn't true. Companies are always going to be stepping in regardless of whether that comes from a generic version or not. Second, America is not the arbiter of COVID vaccines. Of the 10 active COVID vaccines, we only have ownership over 2.5, I believe. Also, the first mRNA vaccine was Moderna, and it was produced by the U.S. Sputnik came after Moderna, and it was not an mRNA vaccine.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go for my side. Yeah, so I followed most of what DemonMama said, that these intellectual property rights are detrimental to expanding our ability to to manufacture this, right? That it doesn't actually damage supply lines. I think most of that is propaganda put out by the Gates Foundation, specifically Bill Gates, being a monster who has stood in the way of open source technologies literally his entire life. And now he's doing so in this realm. It looks like his foundation has had an about face very recently, like for a few days ago, but just his career has been all about stopping or keeping in place a monopolistic framework, right? And whatever industry he happens to put his hands in. So I think that's a problem. I think we should move away from that model. All right. Sharpie, please.
Sure. So I agree with most of what Metaphor said. So the reality here is that if we were to suddenly get rid of intellectual property for these COVID vaccines, it would only create a larger problem than we are already experiencing. So the biggest thing that we're going to take away from this entire debate that I want you to take away, Chad, is that the reality is right now we do have a very finite amount of resources. Um, all of these, both the mRNA vaccines, take a lot of different raw materials. Those materials are very limited. We're already having problems with supply of these. It's not there is not an infinite supply, and the reality is that if we got rid of intellectual property and allowed literally anyone who wanted to make these vaccines, part of the problem that you would have then is that legitimately we would have a lot of manufacturers that aren't really ready to make these vaccines starting to order products that they can't really utilize. So these materials that are so necessary for Pfizer and Moderna right now to produce their mRNA vaccines suddenly would become way more scarce, way more less readily available, and they'd be going to individuals that don't know how to use them, that don't have the ability to make the vaccine at the same level. I mean, here's the reality: is that if we look at our vaccines, or we look at Moderna and Pfizer and compare them to most of the vaccines that have been produced in other countries, especially if you compare them, for instance, to like China, the reality is that our vaccines just are way more safe and way more effective than any other country's vaccines. And so, what the Western world really should be the driving force on this, because suddenly, if we turn around and give away all of our materials to individuals that have supposedly other capacity, but don't have any experience working with them and don't have any way to verify that they're going to make an effective product, all you're going to do is flood the market with more vaccines that are similar to what's being created in China right now, which are not very efficacious. And then we just don't have the ability, and many of these countries simply don't have the ability to do adequate testing on the manufactured vaccines that come out of their facilities. So we're not going to know what the effectiveness of their vaccine is. So, for instance, you could ship the formula for the Moderna vaccine to a poor country in South Africa that maybe has what you would say manufacturing capacity, but the vaccine ultimately that they end up producing may be 30%, 20% effective instead of 90, 100% effective like our vaccines currently are in the 95% effectiveness range. And so the reality is that you don't really want a country having a vaccine that's not effective, thinking that, oh, this is great. We're now all vaccinated. We don't need to worry about the pandemic anymore. And meanwhile, COVID is spreading because it's only a 30 or 40% effective vaccine. So these are all risks that we'll have to talk about tonight.
Okay, all right. So just before we jump into it, like we're all pros at this, right? We've all been around the block. Let's try to keep things civil here, gentlemen and ladies. Yeah, so we'll continue on from there. All right. So thank you. All right, let's go. Red Charlotte, then Kobe.
Yeah, you said something about like the Chinese vaccine, and from what I know, the Chinese vaccine is just as effective as the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. It has a 95% effective rate. As far as I know, you might have something, or 94%, my bad, 94%. So 1% less effective than Moderna. Um, and like I would rather like the United States be able to take credit as a hegemon over China for like providing the world mass vaccination. And also like these foreign countries do have the industrial capacity to produce vaccines if they're provided like the materials and the like blueprints, and like countries like India, etc. These countries do have regulatory capacity, and I think it's really weird to imply that they don't, because they do produce their own vaccines from time to time anyway.
Let's go to
So it's
Kobe.
not like they're not like they're like poisoning people.
Sorry, excuse me. Let's go to Kobe, DemonMama, then
For sure. So
Metaphor and Feline.
cursory Google search from March from Reuters says, according to effectiveness trials from Brazil, Turkey, and Indonesia, Sinovac vaccine shows an efficacy rate between 50 and 83%. So no, it doesn't seem like that. I would also I'm looking in the chat and I noticed something that I was thinking about at work last night. Somebody said in Demon Mama's chat earlier about how like IP laws are really bad for art. And that's what I thought about. I think a lot of people are coming to this conversation with like the frame of like IP laws with art, which I would agree. IP laws and art are fucking stupid, right? Like the fact that Mickey Mouse is still owned by Disney is stupid. But we're now going into a very complicated subject of like vaccine production. Many people in the chat are saying things like, "Oh well, why is it so complicated? If it's so complicated, then we couldn't produce it in the United States." But this just shows. I mean, again, like I was not educated on this either until I started researching this. But like this shows a lack of education about the deep complexity of producing vaccines, and specifically the deep complexity of use of the mRNA vaccine, which I was wrong. It's not the first vaccine. I did say that I was incorrect. There have been a couple other things that have been used, but it is extremely new. It's less than like we've not been using this for less than like a decade. I don't know. Like I feel like there's we're already kind of getting off into a little bit of a bad track.
Okay, let's go Demon, Metaphor, Feline.
Hold on. Sorry. Somebody in chat, Cotton D-pad. I love you. I love it.
Chat.
D-pad,
It's not.
You sound
pay
wonderful.
attention to the panel, not to the chat.
Okay, that's a fantastic point.
Making a vaccine. Chat. Pro streamers. Let's go.
I just want to make a correction real quick, Kobe. Kobe, I want to make one correction real quick. You said that number is from like the clinical trials from before, like clinical late stage trials, but like newer studies about the Chinese vaccine show that it has a higher effectiveness than thought before. So the number you're citing, the 50 to 80%, was what was thought before, but the 94% is what is now like.
Yeah, I'm looking. So like I got Washington Post from April saying 79%. So I mean,
this article is from 20 hours ago.
Everyone,
this article is from 20 hours ago.
Yeah, just pop it in Prime chat.
Everyone, yeah.
Oh, I did. VC chat.
Yeah. Put it all, everything in VC chat. Everyone, I have the Discord, the thriving heart of my community. So pop into my Discord if you want to follow along. We'll be putting things in the channel VC chat, !Discord in my chat. Let you know how to get there. Please stop by there. Okay. So we'll go to DemonMama, and then I already had you in line, buddy. DemonMama.
Okay, sorry.
And then Metaphor, then Feline. Okay.
So, what I've seen so far is basically what I've encountered in this conversation a lot, which is vague scaremongering using often literally invented statistics like, oh, there's like a 30% mutation chance, where I'd love a citation. I'd love a citation on the mutations, but I highly doubt that you have that. I've not seen anything about the risk of mutations from so-called fake bad vaccines and whatnot. However, if you have that sort of information, that'd be super interesting. However, I don't think that vague scaremongering is a particularly good tactic, especially when it like literally contradicts the basic facts about the situation. No one is experienced making mRNA vaccines. This is a brand new thing. So it's not like America is like somehow the gods of the only people on earth who possess the secret knowledge of mRNA production. Now, they may have gotten the first stable one, but this is a technology that's being worked on all over the globe. And a small discovery can lead to all of these other places that may not have had that small discovery now being able to utilize that discovery with their currently existing scientists to, fight the global pandemic that we're dealing with. This is something that I've encountered a lot, and I think that people don't really understand what the purpose of a good faith waiving of IP is in this case, and also how IP can stand in the way. Keep in mind that when you have open IP law that allows a company to potentially sue you, that has a freezing effect on production. That has a freezing effect on research, because if you want to produce that thing, you could be sued if you're discovered. So a lot of people will not attempt it at all, or they will work in another angle trying to find their own so that they have a way in. I don't think that we should bend our entire world health approach to the desires of a couple of companies that have a vested interest in locking off the vaccines so that they can control the future of a vaccine all over the planet. I think that's a very silly approach. I also don't buy the idea that safety or ingredients or anything along those lines have anything to do with IP. Now, if you want to talk about other things, if you want to talk about those independent issues, that's great, but they have nothing to do with IP. A country's ability to investigate its own factories has nothing to do with IP law. It only has to do with whether they're going to be allowed to do that without getting sued, and whether they're going to have to fight with the American government over that IP law. And that's why I think it's important that we release these IPs as an act of good faith in the name of global health. So yeah, I think that addresses most of the empty fear mongering that's gone on this
Okay.
so far.
So we'll go to metaphor, feline. I'll put myself in line after that. Anyone else want to jump in? Okay. Kobe? All right, sure. All right, metaphor, please.
I don't think this is empty fear mongering. I'm gonna leave it up to feline to drop most of the stats about mutations. We know that this stuff happens. It's pretty common sense when you have a population that has resistance or some amount of resistance alongside a population that doesn't, and you allow free travel of infection across these two populations. It incites mutations. This is pretty common knowledge in the microbiology and virology worlds. This I think again we're talking about the U.S. and I don't really understand why. For instance, I'm guessing we're mostly talking about the two vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer now. Pfizer is dual owned by Germany's BioNTech and Pfizer in the United States. We are not sole owners. Moderna is the only one that we have sole ownership over. Which again harkens to this idea of what you said, that mRNA is being researched everywhere. You're right, it is. And all the countries that have been researching it and have developed vaccines for it don't want to release IP. So, like all
They
the
should
developed
too.
countries do.
Simple problem. They should too.
This
Wouldn't it be
this
based if
potential
American
this
companies were
potential
we're better
for
than China?
I'm just gonna keep talking. So this idea that there's like good faith like IP waivings is not necessarily true. If you release all IPs, you create a hellscape. You
Let
release
him finish, please.
polio actually got picked up by a private company, and they profited massively after the developer who died destitute and didn't want to patent it. So
And that's
there are no
supposed to be
good
an
faith
argument against
waivings
us?
in good.
That says nothing about the
There's a hellscape world in which there's no IP laws and nobody develops anything and everybody just waits around, and nobody makes anything.
You just did empty fear mongering.
I don't think
pointing out you just did.
All right,
let please, everyone, please. Let our good friend metaphor. Let our good friend metaphor finish, please.
I don't remember chiming in a single time.
Okay, all right, sure.
When anybody else was talking.
Once again, let metaphor finish.
Releasing IPs does nothing. I know you've brought this up a couple times in your debates, how material supplies have nothing to do with IP laws, but I don't understand how you're missing the connection between the fact that if IP laws are gone, you're going to have more manufacturing companies and more manufacturing people all competing for the same limited material supply, which is we're going to reduce production everywhere. It also takes significant amounts of time to set up new facilities. We have multiple sources for this stuff. We can post it all in chat as well.
Okay.
I'm just gonna move on, but I'll send it to Feline now because it is his turn and not Red Charlotte or DemonMama's turn.
Okay, so we'll go to just so you know, we'll go to Feline Father, myself, and then we'll go to Kobe. If anyone else wants to get in line, let me know. All right.
Y'all probably just saw me. I'm super excited, dance around because like I've been studying this for like the last 9 months, right? And I have all your answers, right, in chat, right, in the VC chat. I dropped a list of all of my bookmarks, right, that I've been collating and collecting through me and my community over the last 9 or 10 months, right? That I'm telling you, in I have every single database resource that you would possibly need to understand mutations, to understand the movement of the virus, to understand vaccines, to understand the IP laws, to understand phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials, to understand where it came from, to understand every single piece of your reagent that goes into that vaccine, where it's developed, what company controls that IP, and just how very rare they are, right? Now in regards to statistics, in regards to these bottlenecks that are possibly going to be created, right? I'll drop this in chat too. The World Bank, right, did a look into this, right? And let's see here. So it's called the "How to End the COVID-19 Pandemic" by March 2022. Right. This is a policy research working paper that was developed in April. That was published April 2021, and they outlined every question, and every answer you could possibly need. Right. And there's a section in here that is the exact answer that you were looking for in regards to the scarcity of the materials. Right. There's the demand uncertainty and underdevelopment to activate production capacity, right? There's the shortage of raw materials and export restrictions, right? And then also I also want to say, like, the fact that you guys are comparing the mRNA vaccination and the adenovirus mediated vaccine platform to standard vaccines, as in like an attenuated virus, the flu virus, just shows your ignorance on this topic, right? I want to make this very, very clear, right? This is the newest technology. This is like the new hotness on the fucking block. And like at the minute that this got approved on phase 3, they hit the ground running. They hit the ground running. All the producers of the materials hit the ground running, and they've all been going 24/7 nonstop since, right? And so to think that like they can just retrofit any kind of like assembly line to produce these, you don't understand, right? These require expertise at the levels of PhDs, masters, right, to actually make sure these things are correct, right? The very reagent, the supplies to make the reagents to make the vaccines are rare and hard to make, right? Like this is not just like making like a shake, right? Like this is like this is the most sophisticated like vaccine technology on the planet that we're ever gonna have, right? And now I would say that, yes, like in the future, like I would love for like these IP laws and for these intellectual properties to be more open. But that is just not the reality of the world right now. If we were to do this, I'm telling you right now with full certainty, right? We will kill more people. So we will not be able to produce more vaccines, right? You're laughing, but I'm looking at the statistics right in front of my face, right? And I also want to make this also very clear for everyone here, right? I'm not interested in doing like disingenuous performative bullshit, right? Because this is the most important topic in my fucking life, right? When every second it matters. Every second we fucking like we continue this discourse and we don't go online and do the things that actually matter, people are dying, okay? So like,
you said you didn't want to do any performative bullshit, and then you went on a giant
No, that's not
performative.
Everyone, let Feline Father continue. We can respond to him as soon as he's done. Feline, please continue.
Right. Sorry. So, and then also make this very clear, right? Those percentages in regards to like Sinovacs, right? For efficacy percentages, when a vaccine is having like conflicting efficacy percentages, right? The reason being is when they test that vaccine in the different like whatever control groups, they're in different viral landscapes, right? So for instance, if they're doing a phase 3 in like China, right, and it has a certain efficacy percentage, well, if they did like another thing over in like Brazil, well, there's a totally different variant of the virus over there. So yes, it's gonna have a different efficacy percentage, right? You need to look at them both, and they're both valid at the same time. It all is in relation to like where that study was conducted, right? In relation to like mutant mutations and like different variants, I promise you it's happening, and I promise you they're becoming an issue, right? If we don't get like the world vaccinated as quickly as possible with the most efficient way, which by the way is keeping the IPs in place, then we are going to further allow mutations to cultivate, right? Because there is a very real problem of people who are pseudo vaccinated, of like half vaccinated because they're like waiting too long between their first dose and second dose, and those are the perfect environments to cultivate new dangerous mutations on top of these new variants, right? Like we need to get these people fully vaccinated as soon as possible.
Okay. So Sharpie, I'll put you in line. So it'll be I'll on the notes. It'll be me, Kobe, Demon, and then we'll put Sharpie. Okay. All right. So I'll respond now. So first of all, I think that was a lot of performative bullshit right there. I won't be intimidated by those scare tactics, right? Like, oh no, like first of all, we all understand the seriousness of the situation, right? No one needs to be told how serious the situation is. We're all like left. Well, no, we're not all lefties here. We're mostly lefties here. But in any case, but one or the other, every single one of us, none of us is like an anti-vaxxer or anything like that, right? Like we're all on the same team that we want to get the vaccine out to as many people as we can, and as soon as we can, right? So we're all on the same team there, right? But we don't have to deal with the scaremongering. Like, oh, if we're talking about this, right? All the moments we spend talking about a different intellectual property scheme, like people are dying. Okay, so one has nothing to do with the other, right? So we're done with that. Then beyond that, so what our friends on the other side have been saying is that, well, there is a limited amount of supply of ingredients, right? Fair enough. I think that's like pretty intuitive, right? These things aren't unlimited. All right, great, sure. But their answer is, well, because there's a limited amount, well, why don't we just keep it at the drug manufacturers in our countries, right? Like, I mean, that just kind of makes sense, right? Like, why don't we just hold on to this? We'll keep them all safe, right? And we'll handle it. Like, we'll give you those doses as soon as we can. We're on it any second now, any day. Yeah. Here's the problem. So even if everything they said is absolutely correct, right? Even if you give them that's absolutely correct. That there's limited amount and there's like this massive shortage. That doesn't mean that putting it in the hands of American and European countries, right, companies, means that we'll have an equitable distribution. And in fact, we are not having equitable distribution. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about this in the very first place, right? So we could instead decide, well, we'll share this technology, share the ability to do it, share supply lines, right, and try to do some sort of a better distribution with countries, with companies that might prioritize low income and middle income nations, right? So that's where I put that. So I have, and I'll put this in VC chat in a second. There is, okay, one source talks about the amount of doses that have been given, right? So as of this writing, and this article, and again, I'll put it in VC chat soon. As of this writing, in early April, fewer than 600 million vaccine doses have been administered around the world, 3/4 of those in just 10 mostly high-income countries. Close to 130 countries containing 2.5 billion people have yet to administer a single dose. Not fucking one. Not fucking one. The timeline for supplying poor middle income countries. I'm getting heated by myself, not at these guys. I'm just getting heated about the situation, not at these fine gentlemen. 2.5 billion have yet to be administered a single dose. The timeline for supplying poor and middle income countries with enough vaccines to achieve herd immunity, meanwhile, has been pushed into 2024. So part of this, right? So what my opponents will eventually bring up is COVAX, right? So COVAX is a scheme that countries richer nations will share doses eventually, someday, maybe, with these smaller companies, right? Countries. This is a scheme pushed by the patent troll Bill Gates. So this scheme has failed at its mandate, right? And at best, right? So COVAX proposed to subsidize vaccine deals with poor countries through donations by and sales to richer ones. The goal was, and I'm quoting an article, and again, I'll put that in VC chat in just a moment. The goal was always limited. It aimed to provide vaccines for up to 20% of the population and low to middle income countries. After that, governments would largely have to compete on the global market like everyone else. So even at its best, this COVAX scheme, that's been brought up many times before, would only aim to vaccinate like the I think it was the priority 1/5 is my understanding of what they're called, priority 5th, and it hasn't produced up to scale yet. Hopefully it does in the future. If this is what we're stuck with, I would like it to succeed. So far it hasn't, but again, I'll put that link in the chat. So yeah, my overall is that oh, and finally, about one last thing about this nonsense about other countries not being able to do this. Well, other countries have been producing drugs, right? Producing drugs used by you Americans, you Canadians, you individuals in rich nations. Those drugs, there are companies around the world that have been actually doing that. If you ask those manufacturers, you go there and talk to them, hey, they say they can do it. So, for instance, there is Incepta. Let me see if I can. Okay. Incepta and Bangladesh can fill 600 to 800 million doses of vaccine per year, and that's another link. I'll put that in chat as well. Again, just a moment. And then, but it's not just not just manufacturers and poorer natures, right? There's also one in Canada that's been pushing, right, for IP waivers, and they said that They can produce like 20 million or so of these vaccines per year.
They've never produced a vaccine.
I know they haven't produced a vaccine, but that doesn't mean that they cannot produce a vaccine, right? If they have saying, unless you know their manufacturing process, right? Unless you
J&J is already working with multiple vaccine producers.
One
They
second.
inspected their plants and said that they couldn't do
So,
it, and then they gave
I am
contracting rights to
glad
hundreds of
Metaphor
other
has
plants.
joined the ranks of Red Charlotte and DemonMama for interrupting people. Great. So now we're all on the same page. Great. So, one of us. All right. So, yes, that one in particular, that Canada one, has admitted that they haven't produced a vaccine. Doesn't mean they haven't produced other drugs, right? And they are saying that they're able to. Oh wow, one drug's not the same as the other drug.
It's not a Dorito company
wow,
switching to a Lay's
exactly.
company.
The one process
the
isn't
fuck?
exactly the same as the other process.
It's not even exactly the same. They're
Is this your medical?
totally
Is this the
different.
medical knowledge that you've gained over these so many years, that one process isn't exactly the same as the other one?
It is.
A factory would have to be retrofitted so that they can begin this process, right? So hold on. But and then there's thank you for reminding me of this thing about time. Right? Well, it's going to take time to do it. Okay, well, let's get started. Right? Oh, it's going to take time. Well, if these companies have the ability to get started without facing legal consequences, right? To jump into this situation, well, then let's get them started on this problem right this moment. All right, so I yield my time. We'll go to sorry, let me look at my notes again. It is Kobe, Demon, Sharpie, yeah. Feline. All right, I'll put you in line.
Sure. So I have various things I want to address here. So it's going to be a little bit, but I also want to start by saying I love you all. Okay, let's try to address the points that have been made. Okay, I don't care about Bill Gates. Fuck Bill Gates. I don't care. I don't think about him. He's nothing to me. Okay, I think that we got to address what the scientists and shit like this say. Okay, so first things first. I would hope that we can slay the dragon of this of comparing this to recipes or saying that there's a manufacturing company in Canada or Islamabad that says they can do this. This is from John Grabenstein, who's the Associate Director for Science Communications at the Immunization Action Center. And he says, it's not like you're just giving a recipe to another restaurant. That recipe is thousands and thousands of pages long, and then you have to validate and show that you meet all the really tight performance specifications and prove consistency of process before any of the regulators will let you distribute any of the vaccines. Right now, regulators are talking about the CDC and shit, right? I find it kind of frustrating that we are at one time saying that greedy pharmaceutical companies don't want people to be vaccinated, but also saying, hey, we should trust these capitalist manufacturers in Canada and Islamabad that say that they can do that. There's no reason to believe that. We need to trust the science manufacturers, right? Now, going forward, I would like to address this idea as a Western bias. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm assuming, if I was going to get medical care, it's going to be from places like in the West or in China and places like that, right? The places that can produce vaccines, Russia, America, and China are producing vaccines, right? That just seems to be the truth. India is also doing this, but they don't have as much capacity for this. The EU is doing this; they don't have as much capacity for this. And skepticism of current ability is not skepticism of potential or actual ability, right? I don't believe that the scientist from Cote d'Ivoire is any more intelligent than a scientist from Germany. I just believe that the ability, the training, the education, and the equipment that the scientist from Cote d'Ivoire has access to is much more limited than that of the German scientist. That's all that I believe. It does take time. Retrofitting these facilities does take time. Having these companies go and figure out where they're going to give the patents to, and et cetera, does take time. But the question is, is it actually going to increase the ability for us to get our three pillars? A safe vaccine to the most amount of people in the quickest amount of time. Doesn't seem to be true. I'm looking at my sources here. Just one moment. I had a source here for here it is. So Pfizer is actually partnering with companies. If there is this Islamabad factory that can work, or a factory in Bangladesh or whatever that could produce this vaccine, these companies are partnering with them. The World Health Organization has set up an mRNA technology transfer hub in which 50 countries have been giving around stuff. But again, not 50 countries, 50 factories. There's only been 50 factories from all around the world that have been able to transfer stuff because it's unique, special stuff. And Pfizer has partnered with what's it called, Rovi, Receptifarm, and Lenzoa, which I believe All three of those, I think 2 of those are not in American countries. I'm pretty sure Receptive Farm is Indian. And I think Rovi is Pakistani or something like this. I'm not totally sure. You can go look that up. Maybe South African. I'm not sure. But regardless, this is happening. If there is an ability to process this is happening around the world. Obviously, I think it's like, right now we don't have these supply problems because we don't have a ton of countries trying to produce the vaccine, right? Like that would probably go up if we did that. Like, I mean, maybe it's not going to be levels that would be unsustainable, but I feel like that needs to be that need to be put forward. I feel like I had one more thing. That I wanted to get to. If I can't think of it in like 1 second, I'll give up.
We'll come back to you, buddy. You just
yeah,
let me
fine.
know. All right.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyways,
Sorry,
let me look at my notes and then you can go.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to hop in for a second. So the Spectrum Pharmaceuticals in India is the largest producer of vaccines worldwide, but we need to remember that's total vaccines. They specialize in generic vaccines like tetanus, hepatitis, things of that nature. Those facilities, even as close as they are still years away from being able to be retrofitted to adenovirus vaccines like J&J. Well, maybe not years. I think March 2022 was the estimate. Retrofitted over to adenovirus bound vaccines like AstraZeneca and J&J. Also, I'll shoot over to Feline. I think he's next.
No, it's not me, Feline's turn. Don't worry.
Nice
I got this.
try.
Yeah, nice try.
I remember what I wanted to
Kobe,
ask.
finish
Well,
your
guess
point.
what? It's my turn now, so
oh.
you can wait. You got to ramble for like 2 hours, and now it's my turn.
2 hours.
Let Kobe finish. Let Kobe finish.
I did
his point, and then we'll go
one last thing.
straight to you.
It actually is a question for you guys, so you can talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
My question would be, earlier I feel like people were saying there's a lot of like baseless accusations or like baseless claims being made. I was like, what specifically are them? Because I would just like to be able to see if I could find a
Oh yeah. I mean,
DemonMama.
most of those were not touched on. I was interested in finding out what the actual risk, if there's any actual citation that can be provided for what the actual risk of a virus of a vaccine-based mutation, like if there were bad vaccines or vaccines that weren't as effective, how much more that would increase the risk of mutation. And while I do appreciate a massive HTML document of your what appears to be your entire bookmarks.
You asked for sources, so they're the sources.
Yeah, I mean, damn, I love it when we go on a panel and you get given a link to Encyclopedia Britannica. Very helpful.
Well, I would imagine if you're coming on, definitely worthy of your large performative rant about how you weren't going to be performative while you're doing boxing moves at the screen. So yeah, I'm really passionate about the subject.
I feel your passion. Listen, a lot of bookmarks shows how much you know. Now, sorry.
I mean, doesn't it?
I just wanted to make sure I got my fair share of posturing in here. Everybody knows I'm a big fan of it.
Everyone,
still can't talk.
Everyone, please. Let's all be friends, right? We love each other, right? We do love each other. So
I match energy.
So risk of viral mutation. Anything else?
Oh yeah, risk of viral mutation would be fantastic. I would love to see the like rapidly changing dates of when a Bangladesh thing wouldn't be able to do it till 2472.
I said 2022. But
yeah, no, actually, first you said I think 2024.
I said
then
years.
2022.
I said years, and then I corrected it to 2022.
It almost seems like
so it was one date, and then I corrected immediately to the actual date.
So triggered.
I'm sorry.
It's just really funny to me. No, it's really funny because I gave. Remember when there was this segment at the very beginning of this segment, and then you said, "Oh, I'm just going to say one thing, and then you'll be able to talk," and then all of these people keep going blah 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 with their random numbers that they're pulling out of their ass right before you.
You have
they can try to talk.
Everyone, stop!
I'm so sorry, but
stop! Kobe, stop! DemonMama, continue. No one else needs to talk.
Preach it,
DemonMama, please.
Yeah, so God, I don't even remember what I was actually originally going to talk about because we've gone off on so many different things. But I think there's a couple of things here. First of all, one of the things I wanted to touch on is this idea of like recipe and reagent scarcity. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but like there's no real reason to produce a whole bunch of reagents if you can't produce the vaccine in the first place. So the freezing effect that I brought up, which nobody actually talked on and everybody kind of just danced around it because it's an inconvenient point. Excuse me, I'm talking still. I know you're having trouble listening in this panel, but
it's really hard when you say
knock it off. I will start muting people.
Totally.
I don't want to. I really don't. Let's be friends.
Do you see what I'm talking about though? Like I just want to present.
You started this.
Oh my
Excuse me. literally talking.
All right. Don't worry. I'm
Yeah.
gonna help you out.
Listen,
I'm gonna help you out.
yeah. I mean, listen, I get a little bit of back and forth. I get a little bit of banter, but when a bunch of people come on and they're just like boasting big numbers that they're ripping out of their ass and how they're the biggest intellectuals in the room, I get a little bit, I don't know. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Let's put it that way. But what I was going to say, what the point I was trying to make here was that those reagents, there's a freezing effect that goes downhill from the inability of countries and other companies overseas to be able to produce these vaccines in the first place. You will have more. I mean, barring, unless you're trying to argue that like these mRNA vaccines, and I'm not a virologist, so it is certainly possible that, like, I don't know, like refined uranium is one of the like ingredients in these things. Like, now I think that this is a matter of manufacturing. We need people, as far as I understand, to be able to produce those reagents. They're not going to produce those reagents if they know that nobody nearby is going to be able to purchase those reagents. So there's a freezing effect that rolls downhill from preventing countries from being able to freely pursue the production of a vaccine, regardless of its type, whether it's an mRNA or the alternate type. I always forget the term for it. So this freezing effect is something that's really important. And again, it's something that we've done in the past. We've aimed to open up the ability for countries to be able to produce these things, to be able to do so as well. And something that I keep encountering on this panel that's like, I know everybody said, "Oh, I'm not Western biased," but then you act as though there aren't PhDs all over the world who are perfectly qualified.
I literally said it.
Who are perfect. Yes, you did, but everybody else, you're not the only one on the panel. I know.
Everybody, everything. What I said, I promise you, every single other person agrees with what I said. I would literally bet.
Oh, I'm very glad. I'm glad that every person in the world agrees with you, because you're so
on the
right.
panel.
I mean, listen,
panel.
is that a source? Trust me,
panel.
bro. That'll be like
panel.
that'll be like the third source. Trust me, bro, that I've heard today.
I'm talking about the idea that there are PhDs in other countries. Specifically, I made the comment about how
there are
scientists
there are virologists and experts all over the world who would be able to benefit from sharing that knowledge. Leaving that wholly within the grounds of a company to sue over is a mistake. This is an ideological mistake. It doesn't, like, and none of the arguments that are being presented here have anything to do with the actual discussion about IP law. Whether they can actually manufacture it safely has jack shit to do with IP law. That has to do with being able to investigate, with being able to have access, with being able to have communication to other countries. IP law has nothing to do with any of that. No, it doesn't. IP law is about. No, I literally didn't.
That this is a red herring, and this makes it so we're not talking about the real problems that is actually stopping vaccine production. The IP law has very little to do with the actual bottlenecks.
Okay, so sorry, let me do a little uno reverso on you. What you're saying is now you are now agreeing with my initial position that I stated in my introduction, and if anybody doesn't believe me, rewind the VOD and you will see.
I know you said that.
Excuse me, I'm still talking. At the very beginning of this VOD, I stated I don't think IP is the only roadblock in the way here. However, removing it makes one less roadblock that could block all the way here, and it makes a show of good faith from the United States and from other Western countries that we are actually taking this seriously. When, let's be honest, we've dropped the ball all the way along until this point by happenstance. We've basically fucked the world with regard to COVID, and it's only now that we're kind of thinking about maybe we should approach things a little differently. And I think that this is the correct approach.
Okay.
Now, if you want to talk about.
So
I 100%. Can I respond very briefly? I 100% agree. There are obviously many roadblocks.
Thank you.
But the point that I know that we all agree with this, but I would argue
you agreeing with me 100%.
Okay, fine. I would argue that you are heavily overstating what the effect of the patents are having on this. Okay, that's what the argument I'm making, and then I think that I argue that this is a bit of a red herring. Okay, that is my position.
Okay, so we next after DemonMama, we will go to Sharpie, Feline, then myself. Anyone else want to get in line? Okay. All right. So we'll go to Sharpie, Feline, and myself. All right, Sharpie, please. Oh, DemonMama, you want to get in line again? All right, sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back really quick. So something Red Charlotte keeps saying over and over, and it's bothering me a little bit. So Charlotte has brought up twice that there's a company in India that said that they can produce 2 billion doses of this vaccine. Okay, what they're not telling you, very, very obviously they're not telling you, is they're making a giant assumption here, assuming they can get all the right people that they need in place, they can get all the right materials that they need in place, and that they have all the distribution lines ready to go. They don't have any of these currently.
Wait, that's not what I said.
They're basically telling you that, no, don't interrupt me, Charlotte. Thank you very much. Okay, so the reality is that we can't just do this overnight. They're not ready to do this. They're giving you a projection because what do they want? They also want money. The same way that Pfizer and Moderna and these other companies that you're complaining about, the company in India wants money the exact same way. Okay. That's why they're saying they can produce 2 billion vaccines overnight. Yeah, sure, they can project that because based on this, that, and the other, but they're not giving you a solid number that's like, we have all the materials in place already. We have all the people that are ready to go. We have all the distribution lines ready and set up. No, they don't have any of that ready to go ahead of time. So the reality is that just because they're making a claim like that does not mean that that's going to happen. It's just not the case. Okay, and I don't know. This is just really infuriating, man. I mean, DemonMama is doing tear emojis during people's speeches and shit. Like, come on, man. This is just really sad. Like, the reality
I mean, you're right.
is,
You are being really sad. Also, can I have a
no,
side
no,
on
no, 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 no,
There we go. I got the
no,
Demon
no,
Mama
no,
interruption.
no.
That's what
Demon
I
Mama,
respond
we
for.
gotta let Sharpie finish his point. Sharpie, please continue with your handsome face. Please.
All I'm saying is that we do have a limited supply here, and nobody seems to be hitting on this very much because the reality is that if we just pump more of this supply into our existing lines and then pump that outside, that's what's going to be more effective overall. If we ship the IP rights off to other countries where they don't have proven vaccines, Prime wants to ship it to a company in Canada that's never produced a vaccine in their life, thinking that they're going to be able to produce something that's efficacious. It most likely isn't. That's why Johnson & Johnson rejected them and then went with other companies in Canada instead to produce their vaccine in Canada. I mean, we just have to understand what these companies are doing. Johnson & Johnson got multiple offers from multiple companies in Canada. The one that you want that said that they could produce all these vaccines, but they've never done it before, okay? They rejected it, and you're mad that they went with some other companies in Canada. It doesn't make any sense. If we want to limit the supply of these materials and make it so that people can't have the supplies that they need, then that's fine. But the reality is that you're going to vastly reduce the amount of vaccines then, or you're going to put vaccines that are potentially harmful. If you want to give anti-vaxxers any more ammunition, go with the plan that these folks have. Because when we look at this, if you give them all these other supplies and they produce vaccines that aren't efficacious, the anti-vaxxers will say, look, all these vaccines, they don't work. Why would you take a vaccine? It's 30% effective. It's 40% effective. They're giving it to all these other people in these other countries and it's not working. Why would you take the vaccine then? So you're just going to empower anti-vaxxers and make their argument even stronger going forward.
So that was a whole bunch of...
You can respond to that since it was directly to you, Red Charlotte, and then we'll move on.
So that wasn't a response to what I claimed because I never claimed what you said I claimed. I never
You
claimed
said there
that
was a company in India that could produce 2 billion vaccines.
Nope. It's an analysis that the entirety of India's pharmaceutical industry could produce 2.4 billion doses a year.
That's not
Not
what
that
you
one
said,
company.
so I wish you
What?
had said that. That's not what
Are
you
you
said.
fucking kidding? I have
Go
it
back
in
to the box
chat.
chat. Thanks.
I have it in chat. It says, according to one analysis, the country's pharmaceutical industry can produce blah, 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 blah. I never said one company, like, ever. Like, and the thing that talks about one company is that currently there's only one single factory that has like an agreement to produce vaccines, and with only that company, they can only produce 1 billion. So if the rest of the industry was allowed to like partake in creating vaccines, they could double the output. Like that. So I never claimed that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. The next in line is 1 second, please. It is Feline, then myself, then DemonMama. Again, if you want to get in line, let me know. All right, so by raising your hand. Okay, so I'll go to Feline. I know you're muted. I'm going to unmute you right now. But I will unmute you right now. 1 second, Feline. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hey, everybody. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, sorry I exploded in my first statement, right? Like I said, this is just like a really, really important talk to me, right? I mean, like the laughing, the kikiing, like in like the haha, like they're dumb, like shit. Like I don't like that because you're you're shitting on like a year and a half of work I've done on this. Like this is not like I'm not like some like corporate chill, like, and like it's driving me nuts with this, right? Like if we could like tone that down a little bit, I'd really appreciate it. Okay. Now, in regards to DemonMama, in regards to like your statement like you want me to explain to you about like how a pseudo vaccinated person can harbor is the perfect environment for mutations to occur in a new variant. I'm gonna have to explain. You're gonna give me an hour, right? Because I literally have to talk to you about how mutations apply, right? I'm gonna tell you about how these things happen, right? And you just want me to like throw an answer at you that you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like that's not how science works. Not how virology works. That's not how microbiology works. That's not how evolution works, right? I can't just explain it to you in 5 seconds, right? Second thing, right? In regards to like you wanted sources on I linked in the chat the source for the World Bank's look into this, right? And literally has every single answer you could possibly need in this. But I'm not here to spoon feed it to you, right? Like we're here literally trying to you guys are laughing, but we're here trying to provide information to y'all, and y'all are just like laughing and keen and bullshit. And yet here's Prime like submitting like you're throwing like the New Republic as a source, right? Like here, let me give you a source. It's called the WHO. It's called the WHO, like WHO.com, like .net, right? Like it's their fucking website, COVAX, right? Like this is not like run by, Prime.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. I'm gonna have to stop you there.
No,
you
okay,
cannot. No.
okay,
Feline. I don't know what you're doing here. Look, make your point.
Yeah,
You're not being
okay.
oppressed. What the fuck is
I do
this,
shit,
dude?
no.
All right, man. Fuck off. That's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. Get the fuck out of here. All right. Now I'm gonna
What?
say something. I don't know what
Wait,
that
what just happened?
So let's review what just happened. All right. And you all saw, I made sure that Feline had a chance to talk, to make his points, right? To present his material, right? His problem was not with our arguments against him, was our reactions. He didn't like our facial expressions, and so then he fucked off. Well, okay, then, fuck off. Holy shit, you don't get to control other people's reactions
And if
to
I
your
can
information.
comment on that.
Yeah, and I'll give you just a second. I just got to rant on this for a little bit. That's fucking bullshit, Feline. I generally like Feline. I generally like him as a person, and I always enjoy having him. But that's fucking bullshit. Like, this is a fucking debate. People can react however the fuck they want to. I never cared how any of them reacted, right? If Metaphor thinks my point's stupid, then he can react like he thinks my point's fucking stupid. That's okay. I didn't interrupt him, and I made sure everyone else didn't interrupt him. So that's bullshit. He doesn't want to be a part of this conversation. That's okay, right? And then, and finally, that whole thing about like providing all the sources. If you provide a gigantic fucking document, right, that no one can find your source, like the exact piece of information, how is that useful to us, right? Yes, this is what fucking corporate lawyers do, right? They inundate people with files and like, oh yeah, the one file you need is somewhere in that massive pile, right? Oh, you can't find it? Oh, you can't make your case? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, so that's fucking bullshit, and I thank the rest of you for sticking around and participating. All right, DemonMama, you want to say something?
Yeah, and not to kiss up to the panel host here, but like, I mean, literally all of you saw Feline the whole front time doing all his little punching things, getting all animated, and then one of us has a facial expression, loses his fucking shit. Here's the problem I have. The reason I have a problem with posting a wall of text as your sources when you make very specific, very bold claims about if we waive IP law, it will result in deaths around the world. And by the way, go watch. Does nobody else remember this? Am I going insane that he just explicitly said that? I promise you that people will die around the world and that mutations will arise. And all I ask for is, damn, that seems like a really specific, really influential claim. Could I see some numbers on what first of all, the risk of failing the vaccine is, and secondly, on what the risk of mutation is with a failed vaccine versus no vaccine at all? Because I have a small, my intuition, and again, I'm not a virologist, but my intuition is that some immunization is significantly better than none. And I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm incorrect. I didn't think that vaccines functioned on the same rules as antibiotics because it's about immunization and whether the disease is able to take root. But there's another thing as well. In Sharpie's sort of counter rant to the point that Red Charlotte didn't actually make, he brought up that American companies are doing this. Well, why are we always taking the side of the American company over another overseas company? In all of this, we have no reason to assume that Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer or Moderna or any of these other companies are any more well-meaning than the companies in another country. What I'm advocating for is equalizing the ground so that every company all over the world can have equal access to a drug that we know is going to help defeat the pandemic. I'm not saying that we should just say that the United States should go in and like strategically remove all investigative processes, all like food and drug administrations from every country around the world. That's so ridiculous. All I'm saying is that we shouldn't allow companies to threaten to sue anybody, and they will, and they do. And that's the thing. It is both a show of good faith, and it also removes a potentially very large freezing effect, which we know is happening. We know that there are companies who aren't even bothering to set up the necessary facilities to build it because they know they'll get sued if they do. So we need to remove that. And while I agree it is not the only challenge in front of us, obviously we're dealing with a pandemic. There's no single magic bullet that's going to solve it. The idea that all these people will come in here and just stride in, pulling numbers out of their ass about how everyone's going to die if we don't listen to Bill Gates and give companies the entire ability to chokehold the world for their IP rights. IP rights has nothing to do with most of the problems that you're bringing up. And I agree that stuff like sourcing the ingredients is important. But that has nothing to do with IP, and IP only makes that situation worse.
Okay. So because things got shooken up, it was Feline's turn. I will let someone else go in his place. I'll go to Metaphor. I'll go to Metaphor. Let him have Feline's turn. So I'm going to unmute Metaphor. And then he'll go in his place, and then I'll let me decide the right now. So it'll be Metaphor, then myself. I was going to go after Feline previously, right? And Demon just went. So Metaphor, myself, Kobe, did you have your hand up? Okay. And I'm Sharpie. I'm not sure if you were there, but Feline decided to fucking rage quit. So I'm not sure.
Don't worry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you caught that. All right. Did you raise your hand to get in line? I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll put you in line. All right. So let's go with Metaphor. Metaphor, please.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how many times I need to explain the connection between IP and resources, and even to the extent like regulation. These people are the ones that know how to do it best. IP does not tell anybody how to do something. This is Moderna has had public access to the mRNA sequence from the fucking beginning. They said in December that they were not going to pursue any cases of IP violation. Where's the generic Moderna vaccine? From the fucking beginning, everybody has had access to what they would have access to if we lifted IP rights. We don't have it in any even developed country. And so this idea that like I don't like what time frames do you guys think we're talking in? Because we're talking about India, but by the time they get a facility set up, it's too late for them. I'm talking about South Africa. South Africa has one facility that makes APIs. Like South Africa is not going to be able to convert their thing over to this. This is these mRNA vaccines require hundreds of and thousands of quality control checks to validate these processes, take thousands of man hours and an obscene amount of money. Why would we spend the money and the effort to start new facilities when we have facilities that can ramp up production, then export that vaccine? If we're going to be spending money, why don't we spend it wisely? Which is based on the study that Feline linked with this WHO bank that directly analyzed the bottlenecking of the raw materials and how it would exist in multiple scenarios, including one in which generic manufacturers had free access. And it concluded that the fastest way to get everybody vaccinated as quickly as possible is to keep IP and ramp up manufacturing in the companies and manufacturers that already have it set up. Also, the reason that Feline gets upset and he linked this wall of text is because you're asking something as simple as like, well, how does evolution work? Prove to me evolution. He's not going to link a single link about evolution. You're asking about how viruses gain and lose fucking RNA, how they gain and lose function, how they change their spike proteins, and how they interact with the immune system that is in a host. Like this is how mutations happen. This is established figures. I'm sure he'd be happy to sit down with you and run you through with it if you're actually looking to get educated. But what is frustrating to him and equally frustrating to me is it doesn't feel like anybody's here to be educated. It's a lot of straw manning of our position.
I'm not here to be educated by
so,
you. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Let him finish. Metaphor, are you done? I'll make sure. Are you done?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean.
Can I
Okay,
ask
so-
a question real quick?
Intercede on Demon
So
Mama's
hold on, I
time.
just gotta go because I'm highly upset. And Red, I'll let you ask this question later. Put you in line. So yeah, I'm just really upset. Once again, I thank you all the rest for staying here. I don't want to derail this because we have good people here to have a conversation. I think it's fucking bullshit that Feline comes in
I
here.
didn't say the
No,
formula.
I'm not talking to you. That Feline coming here acting like he's fucking oppressed because people are having reactions. That's not why he left. He left because, and he said why he left, because people were laughing at him, right? Laughing at his arguments. Yeah, people are gonna fucking laugh at you. This is Twitch, holy shit, right? But when people were interrupting him, so let's dead that shit, right? Oh, it's because you weren't willing to be convinced. No, we actually are, right? Like, if you guys have a good argument, I love to hear it. Once again, the goal is, and I thought we were on the same side here, is to make sure is to find ways to expand access, well, not just access, right? To make sure people actually get shots, not just access, but to get shots in the arm all around the world. We want to make sure that that's the case, right? And if people are fucking laughing because you think your ideas are hilarious, that's the least of your abilities. Don't come in here like you're fucking oppressed. You're not. Fuck you. Moving on. We're moving. So I had responses to each and one of you, I believe. And DemonMama, oh, you put your hand up. I'll put you in line as well. Sorry. Okay. I had responses to all of you. Okay. So Kobe, you say that we should believe members in the science community when they say that IP should not be waived, right? But then others in the science community saying that it should be waived. Right, like there are 100 countries, like it was 140 countries signed this agreement saying that if you waive these rights, these IP rights, that will be a significant barrier, not the only barrier, but a significant barrier in the vaccine distribution, right? Like in stopping vaccine distribution, right? So other scientists on the other side are saying that. So I guess I've chosen to believe them because of the preponderance of evidence in my perspective on these, right? But okay, we can have a different step agreement there. That's fine. Yeah. So then the companies.
Wait, Prime, are you not able to clip your streams?
What? Yeah, I am.
Well, it's not letting me clip it. It's weird.
I don't know.
Okay.
Try you might have to refresh the page. Sometimes that's happened to me before. You have to refresh the page before you can clip something. But yeah. Okay. So, or maybe it's because you're not a sub. But I think subs should. I think people who are not subs should be able to clip it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right. So the companies with access with the most crucial bits of technology. Yes. Okay. So you talked about the WHO, Kobe. The WHO technology transfer. Yes, this was set up previously. This was going to be the way that we move forward, right? We're going to have a global effort in which companies share this technology, right? We're going to act like a war effort, like a global war effort, right? Except not against each other, against this virus to get these things solved. And Kobe points out, well, there's only 50 companies have joined it. Well, because the companies with the most crucial bits of technology, right? They have refused to join. They refused to share, right? Like those are the ones that we need. If they don't have that technology, then what's the point of the transfer? The transfer is dead without it, right? And Bill Gates, previously Kobe said Bill Gates isn't important. Bill Bates. Bill Gates is extremely important to this conversation because he's been central in keeping IPs locked down, right? There were literally organizations thinking of sharing their technology, right? There was this, it was at Oxford or something, I can find it, but it's in my notes.
Oxford.
Oxford, yes. Oxford had decided that they were going to share their technology, right? Bill Gates got a hold of them, shut that whole shit down, right? At the very start of this pandemic, right? Even before it was declared a pandemic, there was a meeting of, I believe it was within the WHO, I believe it was the WHO, a meeting of scientists from across the world that got together. They talked about how they could go about moving forward. So they created this omnibus document talking about how to make this happen, right? You know what they didn't include in there? They didn't include IP, right? Because they didn't think this was actually going to be issued. They thought, well, of course, Well, of course, IP would be waived. Why would we even bother with that, right? This is the moment, if there's any point, a global pandemic, one as serious as they thought it was going to be, this was the moment in which these things would be waived and that we'll move forward, right? But they forgot capitalism was a thing and they were corrected soon enough. Bill Gates actually got in the way. He inserted himself, right? So Bill Gates and this COVAX scheme, which is part of his vision of how this should actually go, right? The vaccine distribution, COVAX, and this it's called Act C, I think, was this the accelerator is how he decided that we should be distributing this vaccine, and it keeps in place the monopolistic scheme, right? It keeps in place the option, coincidentally, the one that makes them the most money, right? Coincidentally, that just happens to be the one they picked. Okay, all right. So that was to mostly Kobe. All right. Next to our good friend Metaphor. You said, oh yeah, you said 2022 would be the soonest that those people are ready. You mean next year? Next year they will be ready?
2022.
March of 2020. So next year. They'd be ready to start distributing the vaccines, right? So this is interesting. This is interesting.
To begin producing, not to start distributing.
To begin producing. Okay, great, wonderful, right? This is fantastic, right? So they're like, well, this is pointless. Why bother? Bill Gates actually put this same line out, right? What do you know? More Bill Gates talking points. But actually, you know what? Even if we do a wave vaccine, right? So even if we do that, you know, by the time like it happens, by the time they get around to it, it's gonna be so late. So once again, why don't we just keep it in our hands? Like it just makes sense, right? Because first we block you from having the ability to produce these vaccines, right? To get into the business, right? To get into the running, right? We block you from doing that, right? And then after running out the clock, we say, oh yeah, it's gonna be too late anyway. Yep, time's up. Oh no. Well, yeah. It should just stay in our hands. We should make the billions. Wonderful. Just coincidentally, that's just how it worked out. It's just how it worked out, folks. All right, moving on. So yeah, if if IP had been with in the beginning, they'd be either ready or almost ready. These manufacturing plants. So it's not that they can't make it, right? So a Metaphor even has admitted that they can, right? That they can produce these things. It's just that, well, now they're behind in the race now, and so why bother? So if they had been with in the beginning, as people thought would happen, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Moving on to Sharpie. Sharpie. You say that we can't believe these companies in poor nations because they have a profit motive, right? Profit motive. Well, at the same time, then why the fuck are we believing the people here, right, who also have a profit motive, right? We have companies that have a profit motive, right? So because Johnson & Johnson decided not to work with a factory, right? Johnson & Johnson also has a profit motive, so there might be reasons why they have picked and choose different ones beyond their different manufacturing plants, beyond their immediately ability to actually produce the vaccine, right? We can understand that maybe they've decided that that there is within their best interest, whatever those interests exactly are, it's within their best interest to limit it to the people that they have, right? So the fact that Johnson & Johnson hasn't picked a particular factory in Canada or Bangladesh or whatever, right, actually tells us absolutely nothing about the situation. They also have a profit motive. We can both understand that. You also said, why would companies have supply lines ready, right? Talk about the supply lines. Well, they didn't have all the supply lines ready, right? A strike against these companies, that they didn't have all their ducks in a row, right? They don't have the supply lines ready. They don't have their factories retrofitted yet. Well, why would they? They can't guarantee a product. They can't guarantee that they will have a product, right? So they have to do all that. But then if they produce it, right, and then get sued, it's fucking disastrous. So they don't know if they even have a product. So of course they're waiting, right? That's not a strike against them. The very fact that they aren't ready yet, they're waiting for the go ahead, and then they can get moving, right? Obviously, okay. Yeah. Before I had been saying, well, those other companies hit the ground running, yeah, because they know they had the rights available to them. These companies don't have the rights available. Give them the ability, ensure that they won't be sued into the fucking Stone Age by American and German corporations, and they'll get themselves ready. And I think I had just one other thing. Yeah, setting up all that manufacturing ability takes money, right? It takes money. It's not free, not something you just do. You don't flip a switch. And then of course these companies are manufacturing other drugs like as we speak, right? So if they take up their capacity, they only have a limited amount of capacity, and they take a capacity to set up for a drug that is non-existent, a product that's non-existent for them, right? Then they will be harming their own profits and they'll be out of business one or the other. So guaranteed they're not going to be sued and they can actually get started. Okay, that was a very long rant. I'm done. I'm going to go to the next person in line. That will be Kobe. We're going to go Sharpie. Then we'll go to Red. And then we'll go to Demon. Okay.
You're a demon because I just heated up a dab and then he gave it to me, so I'll have to wait. Okay. Anyways, okay, so yeah, I would like to address a couple things here. So I agree, the global war effort thing, totally agree with. I will link. I don't see it here in my tabs. I'll link it after. There's a pretty good article that kind of goes into this. I completely agree, right? As I talked about in my original thing, I think one of the big problems we have here is the legacy of colonialism. A lot of human beings live in countries that were underdeveloped, specifically that their development and their industrialization was focused on extractive industry, not on the various like complicated STEM shit that we have here in the West, right? That's not okay. It's not fucking okay that people in India, that's the very talented scientists in India, in South Africa, etc., can't do this shit. That's not okay. That needs to change. But this isn't enough. One of the big things with the pandemic is there are a lot of like decades long problems that we need to solve that we need to try to figure out in like 10 days, right? Same thing with the vaccine. Remember when people were saying there's probably going to be like a year plus until we get a good vaccine? We have a lot of problems that we don't have the productive capacity to actually meet yet. The reason I brought up the World Trade Organization trading, like a trading hub thing, was I was hoping to try to illustrate the lack of productive capacity we have for all of this stuff. Now to address DemonMama's point, I'm super sorry. I actually forgot to write this down, and you might forget your point, so I'm sorry. I can go on. I believe that you made a point about the idea that because we have this patent and it's stopping these companies, stopping these various places from wanting to change over, that it's that's kind of clogging up the supply line of stuff like the lipids and stuff. Am I correct there, or am I misunderstanding?
No, I was saying that there's a downhill freezing effect where if there is a knowledge that there won't be any production in a country nearby, then obviously it makes sense that manufacturers won't go into that business, at least on a local level. Now, it's possible they might go on an international level, but that would be neither here nor there. If they're going to go onto it in an international level, they're going to do that anyway. But there is a downhill effect from freezing out companies or countries from being able to produce the vaccine locally to then them being able to produce the other reagents necessary. That was my argument.
Yeah, for sure. So I linked an article in chat. So I would just argue the international thing. If there's like a place in like India or whatever that can produce these lipids, like they are like going to be one of the most hot commodities on earth. This article goes into the production of the lipids and how complicated it is and how this even we're in like Factorio where we have like 5 levels of technology that we're super new with, and we don't have that all like each level of technology we have all kinds of shit that we just don't have. This lipid technology is new. We don't have it's not like for example, I use a butyrol, right? A butyrol is incredibly easy to make. There are butyrol factories in like Syria and North Korea and stuff, right? Because we've been making a butyrol since like 1920. We haven't been making these mRNA vaccines. So I hope I can address that point as well as I could going forward. So various countries have various times to begin producing, right? That's the big thing, right? Is regardless of if they start retrofitting their factories, we might, again, like a lot of the reasons why these countries are not going to have the begin producing until like 2022 is because of that. Going back to one of my original points, that's why I really want to focus on Western countries distributing these fucking vaccine, getting the vaccine to these places. In America, we are reaching a point where our problem is no longer that we don't have enough vaccines. It's that we don't have people that want to get the vaccine. People don't care or whatever. Just fucking give it away. Who gets if some dumb fucking pig-headed idiot in fucking Idaho doesn't want to get the vaccine, give it to fucking India, okay? I don't care. That is things. We need to. I think we should shift our focus from when can India, Cote d'Ivoire, et cetera, start producing the vaccine, and when can we get them vaccine? That's a little bit more important. I remember. I don't think I wrote this down, but I did remember something that kind of spiked my memory. Somebody said something along. That something said like our biggest approach should just be getting shots in arms. It does have to be at least the 3-tiered approach I talked about. Shots in arms, shots that are safe in arms and as quick and efficiently to the most amount of people. It can't just be shots in arms. We can't just have like shitty vaccines, right? And no one wants to produce shitty vaccines. But if you have shitty equipment, you don't have the infrastructure. That's what happens. And then finally, last thing I would like to say would be about the idea of like regulations. So I don't trust Western companies. I'm a social democrat. I think the government has to hone in companies, or the government will just do like shit. I'm sure that these companies would produce shitty vaccines if it wasn't for the government. But the fact of the matter is, look at look at the building regulations in India. Look at all these different regulations. They don't have the same regulations than we do. And I'm sorry for singling out India. I don't want to single out India. It's all sorts of different countries, right? India produces a lot of generic drugs, but they don't have the same regulations on these high tech drugs. Same thing that we in the West do. Again, that needs to change, but that's going to be a long term change there. So again, I know that this panel has been very heated. I wish it wasn't, but I think that it is because we all, for a lot of reasons. But I think that we all want the same thing. We want people to get vaccines. I absolutely, in no way, shape, or form, think it is okay that, as you said, like a third of all vaccines is in the West. That is an atrocity, but it's an atrocity because of like a failure of like 15 systems. So I'm sorry I took up. I know I talked.
No, you did great. Thank you, Kobe. Always appreciate it. Sharpie, please.
Yeah, so maybe this will cool things off or heat it back up. I don't know which, but we'll find. So Prime, man, you spent so much time talking about Bill Gates. Maybe you should just marry him, my guy.
I would love to.
he's
Holy
about to
shit!
be
Yes,
single.
yes.
I
Sorry.
feel like he spent less time with his wife last year than you spent talking about him in the last 10 minutes.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't know, man. Just marry him, my guy. Okay, anyways. So, look, I want to refocus a little bit. I mean, when we look at the situation that we're in, we can talk about IP all we want, but our whole goal, everyone's goal here is getting the most shots in arms, getting the most people vaccinated. I think that's very clear. If we want to get to that point, I don't think that getting rid of IP or doing any of that is the quickest solution here. The very quickest thing that we should do is that we should start exporting vaccines. I mean, personally, on a personal level, I would say I don't really understand why we aren't already exporting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine basically entirely. We don't need to give this to anyone in America at this point. We should just export the Johnson & Johnson vaccine everywhere. I mean, send it to anyone that wants it. That would be totally fine with me. The Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, we have enough supply of that right now, it seems, to vaccinate the rest of the population. The Pfizer vaccine goes down to the lowest age currently. So we should prioritize those vaccines in this country, in my mind, personally. But I would go ahead and export the Johnson & Johnson vaccine everywhere. There's no reason for us to continue doing that, and I'm totally fine with that. That's a much more practical and a much more rapid expansion of vaccine to the rest of the world than getting rid of IP is. Because you have to understand, this is not a U.S. problem. It's not the U.S. can get rid of this IP overnight. Right now, there's ongoing negotiations at the World Trade Organization. The leaders of the WTO are hoping to have those negotiations wrapped up by December. It's not even on their radar to be wrapped up in the next 3 or 6 months. They're prioritizing December to figure out this vaccine waiver. So we can do way more ahead of that than we ever stand a chance of getting all of these other countries to come on board and say, yes, we can get rid of IP rights. That's totally fine. Ship out the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, start helping other countries figure out manufacturing better. The U.S. has already proven more than once before that we can help negotiate deals between multiple countries and these companies. We can do that without getting rid of IP rights. There's no reason to get rid of them when our government can just do a better job negotiating between these other countries. I mean, we're focusing on the wrong problem. Ultimately, this ends up being a complete red herring. It's a total distraction. It's not going to solve the issue. It's not going to get rid of the pandemic. Nobody on this panel can make the claim right now that if we get rid of IP, that the pandemic is going to go away in 3 to 6 months. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you the order. Again, the order is Red, Demon. I was gonna put myself in line, but I'll put Kobe in front of me. And if Metaphor wants to get in front of me, I'll allow that too. Okay. All right. So
Sure.
all I wanted to say
Okay.
was, yeah, I was reading some stuff on the it's so bad. We don't even know like how many vaccines are going to waste because they're not being tracked by states. And like it's just like a shit ton. And like people are like just not taking the vaccine anymore. Like I think daily doses have like plummeted. Americans, there's something fucking wrong with Americans, dude. Like who knows what the fuck's going on right now?
Why do you think they're going to waste, though?
Because they
Expiring, yeah.
they expire.
The expiration date is not as soon as you think it is, though.
Okay, I'll just like whatever, dude. I'll just link an article.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, so let's go to a Demon, Kobe, Metaphor, and then myself. Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of things. To address the heatedness of the panel, yeah, it's a heavy issue, but also when people stride in saying how I'm here to educate you, and you get that from an entire side of the panel, yeah, you're gonna get a little pushback, especially when you're like, I'm here to educate you with this that I just ripped out my ass. Absolutely gonna get some pushback. And then to talk about the issue with that Kobe brought up with regard to like having more facilities. Uh, you brought parallels to Factorio. Well, if this is indeed a new thing, and we've been able to spin up this ability to produce it, certainly that can be shared with other countries. The more facilities that are working up, the faster it will get up to speed. And I think we can say at this point, it's pretty fucking important that we get this stuff up to speed in every place that we possibly can. And to address Sharpie's points about this, there's no reason not to remove IP in this case. It only serves to be a hindrance in this. Now, it is possible that there won't be much of a change. However, I think that there is enough evidence in saying the number of countries that are petitioning for everyone to waive IP to agree upon. I think there's a lot of people in the world who would strongly disagree with your position. Most of these people infinitely more qualified than yourself. We're talking about hundreds of nations. If I'm not mistaken, a majority of the world has backed on supporting the waiving of IP rights. I wonder why that
No.
might be. Is that not true? Did not somebody cite a 150?
No, it's not true. Even a recent poll in the United States says that most United States people are against it. And
I'm
then
sorry.
there's
My
also a
mistake.
poll.
My mistake then. If we're talking about individual people, if we're polling individual people, that's probably not true. But did we not have a citation of a 150 country pact?
140. 140.
140? Okay, sorry. How many? Can we get a reminder of how many countries there are in the world again? Isn't that about 200 and 280,
Wait,
somewhere in that ballpark?
What? Hold on.
So
I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? Like, what was this pact? And if it was just governments, I don't really care. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not being an asshole. Like, I don't really care what necessarily like the government. It has to be a combination of government.
I will find you. I'll find you that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, if we can get that number, that'd be amazing.
Sure.
Because if we're talking about approximately half the world, the governments of half the world and their respective, disease combating organizations, I think that's a big number that we should be willing to take. Like, okay, you know what, maybe these countries have a point, maybe there's some things they're literally very concerned about with this IP. I think there's a pretty good sign of that. We know that pharmaceutical companies are very aggressive with their IP when there's a lot of money to be made. We should remove the profit incentive entirely. There should not be a profit incentive in this at all. Now, there's going to be some that we cannot ever get rid of. I agree. Obviously, we have a million different economies all over the world. Many of them are capitalist. Many of them are deeply corporate. And okay, there's not much we can do, but we should remove every bit of the profit incentive from this that we can, because it can do nothing but slow us down. We want to get all those, to go into Factorio. We want to get all those refineries up and running so that we can have the pieces we need to actually combat this and future viruses, which we know are coming. So, I think that there's I think that there's a a presumption of expertise in that happens in requoting the talking points of essentially pharmaceutical corporations and pharmaceutical corporation advocates, that overlooks the actual good that could be done. And once again, I'll state it because I know that this is going to be, I know that even restating this won't matter. I don't think that IP is the only thing, not even close, or even the most important thing standing in the way of vaccine distribution, but it does nothing but impede. And we should be willing to back off of that.
Okay. The next person in line is we'll go to Kobe, Metaphor, and then myself. Kobe, please.
Okay. Yeah. So again, like, I mean, perhaps this is just going to be the kind of like central disagreement, at least between like me and like specifically DemonMama. I would just say like I'm a little worried that focusing on the waiving of the vaccine patents is going to cause downstream effects that are going to be worse than is right now, and that we can deal with all the problems that we were just talking about. Like, we need to build our Factorio. Humanity needs to build our Factorio factory, but we can deal with that through other means. So maybe that's just that. The one thing I did want to say, I did forget to say this earlier. That thing you brought up with the Bill Gates and the Oxford thing, Dr. Heem talked about that, and I read an article about that. Completely agreed. That's completely fucked up. But that looked like to be more with the AstraZeneca AstraZeneca. I do not know how to pronounce that, but the AZ one, that one.
AstraZeneca.
That vaccine, which is not an mRNA vaccine, and I think that he actually has like financial interest in that specific vaccine. So that seemed like fucked up. And I to be honest, I would much rather have the vaccine this being done by like universities than by corporations if I could choose anything. That's just to DemonMama's point. Like I agree with you, right? Like I don't like the idea that we're choosing between corporations in Islamabad and corporations in Chicago and in Berlin, right? I agree that that's like not the ideal, right? But that is just like the fact of the matter is that most countries in the world have, at least in the West, have a lot of their production in like private industry, right?
One quick note on that is that I hear what you're saying, but don't you realize how making it a standard that we don't enforce like IP on a global scale for life-saving or preventative medication, that would start the process for us to actually have universities be able to set up their own thing that is publicly funded or non-profit incentive. As long as the IP exists, as long as we uphold that IP law, that will never happen.
So I do agree that. But the problem is that we have to think of like a temporal situation. We're in the middle of the pandemic. We need to specifically both produce all the other vaccines we need for typical stuff and this new very specific vaccine.
But as Joe Biden showed, it's just so easy. You just write it off. You say, nope, we're not going to back these up. Good luck. Sorry, that's not going to happen. And we're not going to back these up, and we're not going to carry out lawsuits on behalf of you over this IP. Waiving the IP is one of the easiest steps, and it removes a major potential roadblock and demonstrates good faith.
So to be very, very, very clear, I understand that like this is a big panel, we're debating with lots of people. My position has never been that I think that we need to ironclad keep these patents in. One that I'm making is that the issue that we're dealing with right here is not going to be solved. Right, the issue of getting the production up is not going to be solved by doing things with the patents. That is an issue that is a much more downstream effect. And the idea of like we don't need patents on life-saving drugs, that's a little bit of a hard. That I would argue that blows the conversation a little bit too out of proportion, because like I was saying, albuterol, life-saving drug. My life would be garbage if I didn't have albuterol. Albuterol, very, very, very simple to make. Much more, comparatively to the mRNA. So I get I feel like there's 2 points there, and I agree a little bit there. So, but yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, I put a link in chat about the countries in the waiver thing. In the VC chat. Again, my Discord, if you want to see these links, is there. I read the 140. I know I read the 140 somewhere, but it says over 100 now. It doesn't say exactly how many, but I know I read 140 somewhere. I just can't like find it in all my fucking tabs. But over 100 countries have signed this.
Over 50% of the recognized countries in the world are over 50% are saying we really would benefit from this happening. I don't know. When we're talking about a global pandemic, it seems pretty weird to listen to like, I don't know, not to invoke Bill Gates again, but to listen to Bill Gates and the companies that have a vested interest in it, and not the desires of the countries that are actually going to be dealing with this. So
I'm sorry. Like I'll look into this, but I don't know if this is that great of an argument. I mean, like how many countries around the world say that Taiwan is part of the People's Republic of China, right? Like
we're not talking about regional conflicts. We're talking about impediments to a pandemic.
The point I'm making is that these very complicated issues don't necessarily, or not necessarily going to be reflected by whether or not governments sign petitions for things. That's the only point I'm making.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems to me like the conflict of interest would be bigger on the side of the corporations that literally own the patent, and then the countries whose people are dying and really just want to get the vaccine and make sure that they're not going to get fucked over again like they do every other time U.S. puts a chokehold on life-saving medication or life-saving inventions.
The problem is that even this proposal of the WTO takes literally a unilateral agreement. So if one country says no, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but that's not okay.
All right, that's Sharpie, neither here nor there.
So yeah, Sharpie, since you're interrupted, that's so what? That doesn't mean anything. We're talking about whether it should be the case. The fact that there will be obstruction, the fact that there will be obstruction is nothing. And I do actually there's another solution here that I haven't gotten a chance to get to. But the fact that there's obstruction in of itself is not evidence that removing that obstruction would not be beneficial. But okay, sorry, Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Metaphor, and then I'll go.
Okay, so we keep bringing up Bill Gates, which is, I suppose, fine. But I mean, you can't argue with the fact that AstraZeneca is the most widely distributed vaccine in the world, and he's making it at cost and selling it at cost. So I don't know what other alternative you want in place besides that system. What else? I think from the very beginning, I've advocated for supplying money and helping to set up these other manufacturers via the WHO. It was right in my opening statement. Regulation. I think we're kind of splitting up regulation and IP. Regulation is tied directly to IP. You're able to regulate these industries because of the IP that's held. There's a reason that Johnson & Johnson discovered the issue in Emergent Biosolutions when they were producing the vaccine for Johnson & Johnson via licensing. And then the FDA put Johnson & Johnson in charge of that vaccine. And then Johnson & Johnson later decided that Emergent Biosolutions was no longer going to make the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because they could not make it efficaciously and well. In fact, they messed up ingredients and they were about to release an entire batch of Johnson & Johnson vaccine that was made incorrectly that could have had disastrous outcomes. The pharmaceutical industry is by far the most regulated market in the world, period. And this has to do with IP.
How? Can you explain how it does have to do with IP? Because like what you just explained there, like didn't have anything to do with IP. You just talked about some random bureaucratic internal bullshit to Johnson & Johnson. I don't know how that's relevant. How does that prove IP?
so
Regulation has
Johnson-
nothing to do with IP.
Johnson & Johnson has IP of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. They licensed rights for that to Emergent Biosolutions. Emergent Biosolutions was ready to pass that on to make a batch, and because Johnson & Johnson has licensing rights over Emergent Biosolutions, their quality and control team was in the chain to inspect all the paperwork before Emergent Biosolutions released that vaccine that they produced. Johnson & Johnson discovered the issue, and then the FDA came in. Johnson & Johnson signaled for the FDA to come in, who then also inspected it. There's multiple levels of regulation that goes into these countries and goes into these companies.
What you just described, Johnson & Johnson finding a flaw in their own subsidiary's problem and then invoking
It's not a
government.
subsidiary.
That has nothing
It's
to
an
do
entirely
with
different
IP.
company.
You failed to indicate how your
I know that you keep saying that it has nothing to do with IP because you don't
how does that have
actually
anything-
know what
Wait,
IP
how does it-
is
no,
or
explain
how
to me,
regulation
explain to-
works.
Wait, no,
But
please.
I have explained it. I
Please
have
try.
told you multiple times, and I've
wanna do
laid
a-
it
you
out
wanna do a
as
chat poll
simply
if
as
anybody understands?
possible. As simply as possible. How a company having IP allows them to oversee the other companies that are making their product.
Wait, they could do that
This is-
anyway. They
No,
could
they
do that
can't.
anyway.
Not
Wait a
without
minute.
IP.
Okay, hold on a
How
second.
does
hold on.
Johnson &
Wait,
Johnson
hold on a second.
investigate
Excuse me,
a
excuse me.
company that
Listen,
is
it
making
sounds to
a
me-
vaccine
It
that
sounds to
they
me
don't
like
have IP rights for?
It sounds to me
How?
like excuse
Explain
me.
to me.
I'll explain to you. It sounds to me like contrary to your claims, you are not the one who understands IP. Because you see, if Johnson & Johnson enters into a contract with a manufacturer, that is where the problem lies. That has
Why
nothing
would
to do with-
why would that company enter into a contract if Johnson & Johnson didn't have that IP?
Wait, I'm sorry.
If the
Are
IP
you,
didn't
are you
exist,
aware? Wait,
right?
are
If
you
IP
trying to say? Wait,
I'm
sorry. Hold
asking
on,
you-
I want to be clarifying question. Do you think that if we got rid of IP, that there would be nobody manufacturing anything whatsoever?
No, that's not my case.
Okay,
So
then
what
let me
happens
wait.
if
Let me
Johnson &
explain.
Johnson
You asked a
doesn't
question.
have-
I'm going to explain to you now.
Okay,
I'm going
then
to
answer it.
educate you now because you've been
Okay,
trying to
please.
educate everybody. So I'm going to
Please
educate you now.
educate me.
See, watch what can happen once you get rid of the IP. Then guess what? Then Johnson & Johnson doesn't have to oversee it. You can have the government directly oversee.
They
the
didn't
production of these
oversee
things.
it. They were
didn't
overseeing
wait,
it. They didn't catch it.
They didn't because they have the IP. You're arguing against your own point right now.
No,
Yes!
I promise
The
you I'm
reason
not.
why we have to go two
So-
steps between, why we have to have a corporation
FDA
that calls the
oversees
government instead of
Emergent Biosolutions, regardless of
Okay.
whether or not they're licensed through Johnson & Johnson. The FDA only inspects these companies on like a biannually or annually basis. They
because
did not
that's how we
catch-
have it set up
they
right
did-
now.
they
That
did
has
not-
nothing to do with IP.
they
This
did
has nothing
not
to do with
catch
IP. This is regulation that we can change.
They
We
did
can
not
change
catch.
this regulation
Yeah,
without.
we could change the regulation with IP as well, but you're not
What?
listening. You're not letting me finish.
Okay. Let Metaphor finish his point, and then you can respond, and then I'd like to jump in. There will be my turn. So go ahead, please, Metaphor. Make your point.
The crux of the point is that Johnson & Johnson caught the mess up because Johnson & Johnson has the IP, and because they had the IP, Emergent Biosolutions had to license with them to produce the vaccine. If there was no IP and Emergent Biosolutions was able to produce a vaccine without any oversight of Johnson & Johnson, we would have had a whole batch of Johnson & Johnson vaccine or whatever generic version that Emergent Biosolutions called their vaccine in market, made incorrectly.
That's a very nice story, but that doesn't indicate anything. You just repeated the story again. We could have just what you're saying is that
No, metaphor,
honestly,
stop, metaphor. Let her finish, please.
Yeah, what you stated here is that Johnson & Johnson caught it before the FDA caught it because the current system
The FDA would not have caught it.
relies on a public-private partnership that isn't necessary, that it doesn't
Private
necessarily have
membership.
Okay, you're really trying hard, but I think that like you've reached the end of your like talking points, and it's just like you're like repeating them. I don't know if you know this, but the FDA is a public organization. Johnson & Johnson is a private organization. Now, Johnson & Johnson's contractor or subsidiary or manufacturer or whatever, because of the current system that we use, then they were able to call it in. But guess what? If we release the IP and we work directly with manufacturers without having a bunch of a third-party company, Johnson & Johnson, licensing all this stuff out, you can just have the FDA directly inspect it. And guess what? If they have access to all of the information, the recipes, the manufacturing, congratulations, you've figured it out. And I know now you're going to go and you're going to tell the exact same story again as if it changes anything, like you did the last 3 times you told the exact same story without indicating what that has to do with IP at all, because it doesn't have anything to do with IP. What you've explained is an issue with regulatory procedure. That's it. That has nothing to do with IP. IP is how you determine who owns a product, who gets the money from a product, not how it's regulated.
All right, so you're still muted. Yeah, because I asked DemonMama to stop. She stopped. I asked you to stop, and then you kept going. So please, knock it off. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why. It doesn't need to. But yeah, no. Again, we can't hear you, so I don't know why you keep talking. But okay, we can't hear you. Any which way, I'm going to take my turn. So and to respond a little bit to this, with Sharpie saying that practicality says that we just leave the system as it is. Conveniently, once again, practicality leaves the U.S. and Europe in the driver's seat, right? And there is a reason to get rid of IP. The reason is to let you keep saying there's no reason to do this, right? There's no reason. We've stated the reason, right? Because IP gets in the way of these manufacturers of being able to, excuse me, being able to begin manufacturing these drugs, right? That's what's getting in the way. That's one of the reasons, right? I think Kobe and our points is actually quite similar. It seems just a matter of degrees. Kobe says it's not that big of a deal. I think it is a big of a deal, but sure, right? But Kobe acknowledges, just as I acknowledge, and I think Charlotte and DemonMama already acknowledge, is that there are more than one set of challenges, right? And Sharpie, you thought the straw man, very convenient straw man, very nice, very beautiful, saying that, well, people here, that getting rid of IP wouldn't solve the COVID the next day. No one said that. So, no one agreed. We all agree that's not the case, right? Or so giving the IP wouldn't be like the single shot, the magic bullet to end this crisis. Certainly not, right? We still have the issue that Kobe was so effectively brought up. The fact that so many people within the States, right, and there's, I'm sure around the world, are hesitant to take vaccines, right? So even if DemonMama, Charlotte, and I got exactly what we wanted, yes, we would still have other challenges. Okay, great. We're talking about getting rid of one obstacle. You're like, why are we talking about IP? Because that's the terms of the debate. That's why we're talking about IP, because we're talking about IP. I don't know what else we'll be talking about. So I don't know. Okay. So in terms of for metaphor, talking about like what system do we want, right? You mentioned that what was it, Johnson & Johnson is manufacturing their vaccine at cost. Okay, great, 100%. Good. That's not what we were talking about, though. We weren't talking about like some sort of massive, and I know why you brought it up is because usually we can rely on the tender mercies of capitalism when it comes to big pharma to jack up the prices. In fact, doing research for this, I was looking, I came across what happened during the AIDS epidemic. And we had drugs for the AIDS epidemic that cost $10,000. $10,000 in these rich countries, right? Did it actually cost $10,000 to produce? No, it didn't. But they did it any which way, right? You can rely on American capitalism, right? On big pharma to jack up the price, but they didn't do it this time. That's great, but also we didn't say that they did, so I don't know why we're bringing that up. That cost, I guess, some countries it'll be difficult for them to afford to buy it, even if, for instance, Bangladesh or India or Canada, other nations, manufacturers in Canada, were creating the vaccine, right? There would still be that issue, and there are other ways around that. We can just simply, hey, we'll buy this for you. We'll give you these vaccines. We'll fucking subsidize the entire run. Why not? Because it benefits us, benefits all. There is a strain in India that is apparently of global concern, I believe is the term that they use. That might be a bigger issue. I don't know exactly how it's going to be a bigger issue, whether it be vaccine resistance, but something that everyone's looking at, right? India, as we can see right now, is having their very own American-style shit show, and people are dying, right? So the sooner we get these vaccines into people's arms, the better. We all agree on that, though. The problem is the actual levels of distribution. And again, I'll repeat it. Even if everything they say is true in terms of these limits in materials, right? Even that is true, that still doesn't mean that that isn't proof that our current method of distribution is efficacious, right? As we can see, and no one just disputes the numbers here. Not a single one of them disputes the numbers, that there are countries, dozens of countries, right? Most countries haven't gotten a single shot. Not one dose yet. Not one dose. It's a failure of this manufacturing scheme. It's a failure of U.S. capitalism, American-style capitalism. It's a failure of big pharma. It's a failure on all ends, right? And it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way. We have a glut. We talked about this last time, you and I, Sharpie, right? How Canada has a glut of vaccines, right? And there's another thing I was going to bring up, but it said basically, and hold on if I can search my notes here. Canada will have Canada is going. I believe Canada was going to have their booster shots before other countries even get their first shot. They don't only get their first shot. Okay, so there's many other ways. There's many ways to do these, and we're talking about the best way to handle this, right? So intellectual, a metaphor brings up this nonsense that intellectual property rights is the only thing keeping us from from poor manufacturing outcomes. No, that's regulation. Regulation is what's keeping us in line, right? Like, you're saying, what would happen if Johnson & Johnson didn't have the IP rights, right? Well, then we could simply delegate another body to do the regulation, right? It's saying the FDA wouldn't catch it because the FDA doesn't inspect enough. Well, I agree with you 100%. In fact, I've talked about this previously, a long time ago, on this very channel, talking about the fears of the FDA and their regulatory processes. And as the Mama says, we can just change that. Hey, we can actually, instead of having an FDA that's been hollowed out, right, because, of regulatory capture, the thing that happens here in the States, right, instead of doing that, we can decide, well, hey, we're going to actually keep these companies in line. We'll decide that we will hit these plants. You want to hit them weekly? You want to do the weekly? Yes, we can do that. We can hire enough inspectors to do it weekly. If that's what you want, that's what I want. Keep these motherfuckers on their toes. I agree, right? But we don't need Johnson & Johnson to keep us from a bad batch. And in fact, they barely kept that from happening as it stands. But once again, we'll just designate another body. It's that simple. That's simple. I don't know. Well, intellectual property does not guarantee safety. That's not what it does, right? I feel like you don't understand intellectual property. It's not what it does at all, right? It simply says that we have the exclusive rights to this technology, whatever it is. If you want to use our technology, you got to come through us. That's it. That's all it does. But wrapped around that, is the ability ability to tell other corporations that you have the ability, because we say so. You have the ability to use our technology, right, and on our terms, rather on the terms of the most efficacious for spreading this vaccine all around the world. So I don't know where you got your understanding of intellectual property, right? You're throwing around your credentials as if it matters here. It doesn't matter here. Intellectual property simply doesn't do what you're saying it does. Okay, I'm done. But anyone else can respond. If Metaphor wants to respond, I can let him. And then we'll go to Kobe. All right. And then anyone else, let me know if you have your hand up. All right. I'm in Sharpie. Okay, I see you. All right. So Metaphor, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I wasn't throwing around my credentials in a way to try to like a big dick swing in here. I was just trying to specify like my familiarity with the situation and how I have a very intimate relationship with this actual issue, like in real life. Like, it's like what I do 40 hours a week, like 5 days a week. That's all. So I'm sorry if it came across as me being condescending. That was not the attempt.
Well, I mean, when you say you refuse to be educated, I've come here to educate you. Yeah, it does tend to have that effect.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you literally did.
No, I think that was feline.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
You could
If
go
so,
back and look if
then
you
fair
want.
enough. Yeah. Just saying though.
Yeah, so it seems like
I just wanted to just quickly say that that booster shot thing that I mentioned, I put that link in chat. Once again, I'll read the exact line. Canada, I just want to Canada just made a deal with Pfizer to get 35 million doses of boosters by next year, which means they will arrive. When they arrive, most people around the world will not have received their first shot. So I put that link in the VC chat. Go check it out. It's in our Discord. Please go ahead, Kobe.
Yeah, for sure. So it does seem like we're at least my perspective hitting a little bit of an impasse on this. So hopefully we have a couple hundred people watching us right now. Hopefully we can do a little good. I put a link in DemonMama's chat and a link in Prime's chat to Islamic Relief Canada. They're a charity that does work in Palestine, and they are specifically trying to. They're very cool because they do two things. They have a mental health line for young Palestinians, which is a big thing. A lot of times the wounds get seen are the ones that are like outside, not the ones that are inside, and also they're helping with the vaccine. So if anybody out there has $1 or $2 to chip over there, that can help some people that are in need going forward. It seems really just this is going to be my last statement. I mean, obviously I'll keep for this. I'll save for the rest of it. But this is kind of my take on this. Just through my looking through this, it kind of looks like at the end of the day, the world is going to get vaccinated by, regardless of IP or not, by the very few places that can produce vaccines, producing them, and then them being distributed to the rest of the world from those centers. Can there be more places? Can we do it more? Yes. I'm worried. We talked about the idea of like vaccine hesitancy. I'm worried that that's going to be even more if we have vaccines coming out of countries that there's not less regulation of, that don't have as good of regulated pharmaceutical industries, and people end up getting sick. That is a hypothetical. I cannot prove that, and it is true that right now we can go and look at the bonfires that are going through the night to cremate people in India, and so I agree there. So that is a real problem. But I'm worried that we're going to get ourselves in a shitty situation in which, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think that just getting jabs and arms is like the most important. It has to be jabs and arms efficiently as possible and the safest that we can. So thank you for talking, everybody. And I'm sorry that was heated, but I think that it's been a good discussion. But obviously, I'm not leaving.
Okay. Then we'll go to Sharpie.
Yeah. So look, this is the main point that I want to make here. So we keep talking about IP and everything else is an issue too. You guys acknowledge that there's all these other factors that are potentially an issue. But here's my thing. So if we had a row of dominoes, okay, and typically you start with knocking over the first domino and that knocks over every other domino in a row, okay? This would be like you guys choosing to knock over the last domino. That's what IP is. It represents basically the smallest problem in this chain of other problems. So if you want to knock over the smallest issue, that's fine. But it's not that it's going to make an impact on the rest of all the other dominoes that are ahead of that. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of other things. So Prime, you said that other countries would... why wouldn't we just why wouldn't every country adopt the same regulations? So the U.S. has these regulations.
I didn't say that. But go ahead.
Well, you said that countries should just adopt our regulations. Like you said, other countries. okay, you characterized our argument as saying that countries had no regulation. That's how you characterized our argument.
Let me know if you want me to tell me what
Is
my
that not how
argument
you
is.
characterized our argument?
Do
Go
you
ahead
want?
and respond.
Can I respond? Okay. All
The
right, sure.
claim that I heard you make
Sure.
is that other countries basically don't have any regulation.
No, I didn't mention other countries.
Okay,
When I was
so
talking, do
what's
you
the
want me
regulation
to?
in Brazil?
Sorry. It's not what I said. It's not what I said at all. I didn't
No,
mention.
what did you say then? That's
Okay,
fine.
sure. I was talking about IP in terms of how it works in the States, right? I'm talking about
No, I'm
regular,
not talking
and
about
I
IP.
know. I'm trying to answer your question, right? And in that discussion, right, I was talking about the FDA and how the FDA regulates specifically, because Metaphor brought up the FDA. I did not mention other countries. I was talking about our nation, right, and how we inspect, right? So Metaphor
No,
brought
you
up the
said
point.
that Metaphor was acting like other countries didn't have any regulation.
I didn't say that. I did not say that. You heard that? That's not what I said. I talked about Metaphor. I brought up the point Metaphor made about the FDA. I didn't bring up other
You
countries.
said that we had the FDA and that Metaphor was acting like other countries have nothing.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I don't know. Look back in the VOD. I didn't say that. But I mean, I would say that other countries do have regulations. I mean, now that you're asking me, I think others do have regulations, and we could, if you want me to answer that question that you're opposing there, right? So we could have an international body, right, that oversees these plants. Like say, hey, okay, if we're going to give you this technology, right, then we have these inspectors, these like internationally recognized inspectors. They're going to go in. They're going to be sitting there. They're going to be sitting there the entire fucking time, right? Make sure that
How
you're
long
up
do
to
you think
code,
that takes to
right?
set
So
up?
like, it might take a long time, which is why we should have started from the very beginning, right? We should have raised these intellectual property rights from the very beginning, which is an argument that I did make previously. So if you're asking
fine.
me that should be the case. But that's
No,
not the point
that's
that I made to
fine. I'm
Metaphor.
asking you.
But go ahead, please.
So if we go ahead and release these rights right now, how long do you think it would take a body like that to set up these standard regulations amongst the whole world?
I don't care. I don't care. See, because Sharpie, I know what you're doing because you've done this.
So if it takes
No,
10 years,
listen, hold on,
it doesn't
listen, Sharpie. Look, so again, now you're gonna do this whole like escalating timeline, right? Well, if it takes 100 years, why do you can't like no?
No,
First
I'm
of all,
not.
hold
No,
on, but
no,
you're
no.
hold on, but then you threw a 10-year timeline. You just toss that out as if that's to be the case. Okay, we know that's not going to be the case. We know it's not going to be any 10-year timeline, right? But you're going to try to trap me into say, well, if it takes so long,
No,
why even
that's not what
bother?
I'm
This was
doing.
the same argument the Metaphor made. If it takes so long, why even bother? Well, again, we should have started previously. That's my main argument. But beyond that, right? We should get if getting started today helps us get us in a place within a year that we can start making these vaccines, right? It'd be better than waiting on the compassion of the richer nations to actually get their asses in line. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I think when I said earlier that you could find me at twitch.tv/Pisco95, that you really took that to heart and you thought I was going to take this to the extreme. Like, that's not where I'm going. The reality is that if you look at this, okay, if you're saying that it's going to take 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is to get there, I'm telling you that it's much, whatever your timeline is, which you're not willing to give me a timeline. I get that, that's fine. But I'm telling you that the timeline is much faster just letting Johnson & Johnson and these other companies outsource these vaccines independently and expedite and send these vaccines externally to other countries. That's going to be way faster ultimately than doing what you're advocating for in just releasing this IP, letting anyone go at it, letting any mom and pop get this vaccine, buy dosage of whatever it is of these materials that we already have admitted are limited. Now we're going to take these limited materials and send them to companies that don't know how to manufacture the vaccine, which you still haven't refuted. You still want to go to this company in Canada that literally has never produced a vaccine ever. That's your favorite company on the planet, apparently, and you think that they're going to be the greatest thing on earth to produce these vaccines, and you have literally no evidence. I know your mind is
Please stop
blown.
putting words in my mouth. I would love it if you stop doing that. I would love it if you stop doing that. You keep doing that.
You're doing it too. I'm just following the actions that you're doing
No, I'm
on
not.
screen for your audience.
Okay, look, it is not my favorite company in the world. Nonsense. Okay, this is what they try to do, right? They take one example. Oh, this company has never created a vaccine
You
before.
gave the example.
You know, yes, I know, and I admitted this company hasn't. But I also gave an example of another company, right? Other companies in different areas of the world who've also said they're going to step up the case. But you guys haven't said anything about that because you haven't even bothered to research those companies, right? You got one company that says they haven't been able, but there are plenty of other companies who said that they can. Right? Who say they have the ability to do exactly this, right? But you know better. You seem to know better than all these other companies, right? Because I guess you've worked in the medical field, great. You know better than them as to what their capabilities
I
are,
said
right?
that in my intro.
Okay,
and
great.
Now you're throwing it back at me
Great.
like I've wanted it.
Great.
I said it in my
intro.
Great.
So
thank you. You don't need to bring it up again.
Great. So once again, these companies say they have the ability to do so, right? I'm believing these companies. I believe that they have the ability. I'm believing these nations who've all signed this pact saying that signing this waiver or waiving this waiver will take down bearer. I'm believing your boy Joe Biden, your favorite president, Joe Biden. I don't know, I can do it too. When he says that Joe Biden has come on board with getting rid of the IP waiver as well. And now, hey, let's bring up Bill Gates once again. Bill Gates is now in favor of getting rid of the waiving IP, right? The Bill Gates Foundation, in a statement that you yourself linked. Yes, Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation is now saying that as well. Great. All right. So everyone is on board. You aren't, for whatever reason. That's okay, right? But I'm making the case. Why not? And there it is.
I guess and never call us Bill Gates because we disagree with Bill Gates. Okay, we disagree with Bill Gates. You can never call us Bill Gates.
And my final thing on this is the compulsory license. Something I kept forgetting to bring up. So I'm reading from an article, and I'll put it again in VC chat. That's what led BioLease, of the Canadian company, that my favorite company, to consider a compulsory license. In the mid-90s, the World Trade Organization created rules that allow countries to issue compulsory licensing through their own legal and regulatory provisions. Canada's specific rule has only been used once before in the mid-2000s to make HIV medicines to export to Rwanda. If the Canadian government allows BioLease to move ahead on this, it would mean the company could make the vaccine and export it if they pay Johnson & Johnson a fee. Again, I'll put that link in chat. That's another way that we can solve these things. I'm done. DemonMama, it was your turn. Unless you have anything else to say, Sharpie.
No, it's fine. Go to DemonMama. You're fine.
All right. Let's go DemonMama, and I think we're about to wrap up on this any which way. And I'll give you all an outro to make sure. Okay.
Okay. Cool. Wait. So is this closing statements, and then we're gonna do our final plug and outro and stuff?
Yeah. Why don't you do closing statements, and we'll do our outro. Yeah, please.
So, like I stated at the beginning of this panel, there was going to be a lot of fear mongering, a lot of magical numbers pulled out of one's ass, which we saw again and again and again. And if you get the most minimal pushback on an audacious claim, like everyone will die if you do it your way, or this will make all kinds of mutant viruses, and you ask for a single citation, and instead you get the Encyclopedia Britannica in print 12-volume edition, and you also get some metaphors about dominoes. Hey, look, I don't think the domino metaphor really applies well to a multi-variable problem like this, but just so you know, if you knock the last domino, it will still knock all the other dominoes down. Like, that's how physics works. If you if you knock one at the end, it'll knock all the other ones. If you knock the first one, it'll also knock. It's just a physics thing. So yeah, I feel like the arguments on this side, a lot of people came in like real hot, real ready to just rep that Bill Gates talking points, those pharmaceutical company talking points, and with the slightest bit of scrutiny, their entire argument fell apart, and we ended up with basically their entire team conceding that IP has essentially nothing to do with what we were talking about here, and then they wanted to talk about other issues, even though this panel was specifically about IP. So I rest the case that the IP is a needless roadblock that causes nothing but hardship in this. Waiving IP will allow for manufacturers to cut out the middleman, will allow governments to cut out the middleman and simply inspect production directly will lead to a much higher likelihood of the world actually reaching its vaccine goals. And there's no real reason not to do it, in addition to having the added political benefit of making America not seem like a stupid behemoth that fucked up the entire pandemic response and then also fucked up the vaccine response. So with all that said, I rest my case. I think that our case speaks for itself.
Thank you. I think we spoke for our case, actually. But to be fair. But, all right.
All right.
Kobe, you said that was the last word you wanted to say on things, but if you want to say something else, I want to.
I hate you all. Okay, all of you stupid mother. No, I'm joking. I know. Yeah. At the end of the day, not an expert on this, right? I just researched this at my night shift job over the past couple nights, and I'm interested in this. Again, at the end of the day, I know my sister got COVID. She got a nerve disorder from it called Guillain-Barré syndrome. My mom is unemployed because of COVID. I work at a hotel, and I've been having to deal with this shit for a year. I don't want to deal with this shit. I want this shit to be vaccinated. It just seems like we got to do it in the good way. And I think we can all agree, to be fair, we can all agree that in this last year, a lot of people have been wrong on a lot of fucking shit. Bill Gates going back on shit, the mask shit, new science. So we're dealing with, we're in a new fields. We're thinking about new stuff. So it's a pleasure talking to everybody. I'm sorry that we had the confrontations that we did, but spicy topic is what it is. It's been great to be able to go over all this.
Okay. Metaphor. If you want to say anything else, I don't think you're muted. But yeah, if you want to say anything else, please, Metaphor.
Yeah. So I was excited to talk about this. I don't think we really got into any of the things I wanted to talk about. I don't really want to talk about what we should have done. I think the entire point is like what we should do with the position that we are in now and how we move forward. And the way that I see it is we have two options. We have one which will take more time and one which will take less time. And since my goal is to get the whole world vaccinated as quickly and as safely as possible, I'm going to go with the option that takes the less amount of time, which is ramping up production and ramping up exports.
Thanks so much. All right, Brett, Charlotte, if you would like to say anything.
I didn't really say a lot because everyone was going at each other. But I kind of wanted to go into earlier, but we can't anymore. Into just like, I think we should just get rid of IP, period. Because I think the mechanisms that like make IP good, which I do think currently IP is probably better than not for most of its history. But like we know the mechanisms that cause people to like pursue things because of IP that can be replaced through other mechanisms that allow for like more public domain production, while still keeping innovation and profitability for firms or whatever who make stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Nationalize healthcare. Let's go.
Let's go. All right.
Yeah, let's go.
Sharpie. I'm not sure if that was your last statement previously, but if you want to add anything else, I would want to give you that space.
Yeah, so number one, let me take the volume down a lot here. So number one, chat, please go get your vaccine. If there's anyone in chat right now that has not been vaccinated, go take it. As a conservative, if anybody out there is a vaccine denier or doesn't want to take the vaccine, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you, tell you why I've taken it. Everyone in my family has taken it, even some more conservative factions than I am personally. Everyone should go take the vaccine. That being said, ultimately, we're kind of at a crossroads here. Our side just does not think, and based on everything that we've seen, that getting rid of the IP is not going to make a difference in solving this pandemic ultimately. While DemonMama likes to laugh and pander to her chat, and that's great. The reality is that
I was laughing that you said our side doesn't think. That's all.
Oh,
I was
that's
just
great.
laughing that you said that. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was very funny. I'm serious.
It's great, DemonMama. Go ahead.
Wait, no, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, you're laughing in your chat and making faces.
Okay,
I'll just like I can call it out. You can.
Jesus, are you that fragile? Holy shit.
That's pretty weird, DemonMama. It's pretty weird that you have this like really
Wait, I was
weird
laughing at something you
need to be
said.
dominant.
Please,
someone
please.
that
Oh my
shouldn't have
God.
been on the platform.
Sharpie. You don't need to address DemonMama like that. You addressed her. I don't know why. No need. But like, what's your point on this?
Yeah. So, anyways, I clearly our side does not think that this is the best way to get rid of this pandemic. I've talked about other pragmatic solutions with getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and shipping it to other countries. I don't think anyone else really has introduced a way that's pragmatically going to solve this problem or get vaccines in arms very quickly. I don't think that anyone on the other side has a plan that's going to address this in any kind of meaningful way. Getting rid of IP is maybe good in the long term from their view, but in the short term, which is really all that we have to focus on right now, it's not going to make a difference in solving this pandemic. And that's why we need to focus on ramping up production, doing everything we can to support the companies that currently have vaccines and producing more of their already efficacious vaccine versus shipping these patent rights to other individuals to produce vaccines that probably won't be nearly as efficacious as the current vaccines that we have.
Okay. I guess then I'll give my closing statement on this. To chat, fuck, I should have said that before. Hey, we're gonna continue on with the content. I should have said that before. The stream is unending. The other stream is unending. We're gonna go into our open welcome panel. Fuck, god damn it. But the stream is not ending. That's right. We are going into open welcome panel right after this. More content coming your way. No need to leave. All right. To address the point that Sharpie just made, one is not like these things are mutually exclusive. Like we could, like no one is saying, right? Because the way he's framing this is as if we're saying, oh well, we got to stop manufacturing until we get this new new scheme in order, right? This new non-monopolistic scheme in order. No, you can still keep on keeping on. As we're doing, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, they can continue making their vaccines as we get up and running on these other factories, right? So we're simply saying that we are giving these countries the ability, these companies the ability to get started, right? To know that they can actually start retrofitting their factories, right? And getting ready to produce a product without being sued into the Stone Age, because that's a problem. That's a problem, right? So that's what we've been saying. It's like, oh, we haven't suggested another process. Yeah, we have. Actually, we've been talking about it the entire time. The entire time is to open up the process so that more open up the regulatory situation so that other nations, other countries can start producing this as well, right? If you're saying that, like, worry about the efficaciousness of their vaccine, guess what? We can regulate that. We can do that. We can just say, hey, like, if you have you want access to this technology, which I said before, but was apparently ignored. If you want access to this technology, well, then that's going to require us to put a regulator right in your factory, right? We can regulate, check as often as needed to make sure that this is that they are following the proper safety guidelines, one way or the other. And I guess I'm not gonna make that last point. Yeah, so that's our process, right? Didn't know what that process was? I'll spell it out for you again, Sharpie. That's the process we made. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have addressed you like that. I apologize. But in any case, that's what we're saying. And if there were other parts of your argument that you wanted to get to, you should have just said it, just gotten to it, and brought it up. We all have plenty of time to make it, but it is what it is. But we can continue this conversation into the future. That's okay. All right. I'll say that we'll do outros of these individuals. Once again, the stream is not ending. The stream is not ending. We're going to have content right after this. Stick around. Hit that follow button. If you haven't done so yet, hit that follow button right here on this channel. Hit that notification bell to know I'm going live, because we give this content 6 days a week. Don't want you to miss out. Hit that follow button. Come to my channel, PrimeCayes, PrimeCayes, and hit that follow button, because I don't want you to miss out in the future. Okay, I'm going to allow these individuals to give a sign out. Red Charlotte, sign out.
Follow me on Twitter, Red Charlotte _. Follow Medlock Thought. Abolish capitalism. I don't know. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know why you looking like a deer in the headlights when I I gave you plenty of warning that I was gonna come to you for this. And you're like, what? It's me? What? Really? Okay. But thank you, Red Charlotte. And Red Charlotte, I appreciate you coming in. I asked you yesterday, hey, if you want to join, and you said, yeah, I'll do it, and I really do appreciate you being so kind. All right. Thank you, Kobe, as well, for being here. Kobe, again, one of my great mods, who I appreciate. I've been on the other side of many arguments with Kobe, but I've never walked away feeling that he's been unfair or he's been, I don't know. Like there are a lot of other people who leave me with bad feelings. Never Kobe. Kobe's a great guy, and I'm ecstatic to have him in my community, on my team, and as a friend. So, Kobe, please.
Absolutely. I feel 100% the same to you, Prime, and to everybody else. My camera just died. My iPhone probably just died of battery. So there you go. The CIA is trying to take me out. Okay. Anyways, the last thing I wanted to say was that I think the world should never forget a couple names: the Republican Party, the Brazilian Social Liberal Party, the BJP. These are parties that are right-wing fascist parties that have helped destroy the world by three of the biggest population centers: Brazil, America, and India, completely fucking up their vaccine response. Narendra Modi is somebody who is responsible for ethnic cleansing during the, I believe it's called the, I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. You look up Narendra Modi anti-Muslim riots, you'll find it. I can't remember the name of the Indian town. But he is responsible for an unfathomable amount of suffering. Bolsonaro is somebody who's currently committing an open genocide against indigenous peoples so that he can cut down more of the rainforest so his people can eat beef that pollutes the atmosphere, all at the same time while denying COVID and denying all this kind of stuff. We should not, no matter what, whether we have vaccines or patents or not, we should not let these people off the hook. A lot of our problems are because of these people. We have seen with how Biden has done how much is changed in America with Biden. It could have been different. It could have been different. We could have had so many more alive people, so many more people that are not disabled because of this, but we didn't because of these people. So hopefully we can learn to keep these people out of power. Anyways, thank you so much for talking to everybody, and have a good night.
Thanks so much.
BJP, more like blowjob penis. Got him. Get out of here.
Oh, follow me on Twitter at Kobe69420.
Yeah, please drop that link in chat. We love Kobe. Or that mysterious person. I don't know who. And witness protection over there. All right, moving on. We have Metaphor. Metaphor, yet another one of my great mods who does a lot for this community. We want to thank Metaphor for his participation in this conversation. I had a good time talking to him. But Metaphor, please tell people where to find you.
Here.
Okay. All right, and I'm proud that is the case because Metaphor, again, is a great part of our community. So thank you, Metaphor, for being part of this. All right, moving on. DemonMama. DemonMama, who I also asked just yesterday to be a part of this, and she agreed. She's down for a fight anytime, it seems, which is also DTF. But anyway, sorry. I'm sorry. DemonMama, I always appreciate you. It's always a fight every time when you step in the ring. It's going to be a knife fight, but an enjoyable one, a hilarious one to me in each way. So DemonMama, thanks again for sharing your time, because I know you could have been doing lots of other things. But you spent time with me and my community, and I very much appreciate that. DemonMama, please.
Yeah, most people would rather go up on a fight against me because they wouldn't survive a fuck with me. Anyway, yeah, so thank you very much for having me on. It was wonderful sparring with all of these individuals. Don't just afterwards, everybody take it easy. Chew it over with a Twix. It's gonna be okay. No hurt feelings, all right? It's just debate, all right? And we learned a lot of things. We talked about a lot of interesting issues. Very happy that we got to do that. If you're interested in following me and seeing the other based ass shit that I do all the time, DemonMama.com has all of my links. After this, I usually do a brief Q&A, and then we're going to be doing some conservative react. So if that's your cup of tea, come on by. You can join the imps. You can get to know people. You can argue with me if you want to. I sometimes bring people on, and we go back and forth. Feel free to do that, and definitely check out my website. Thank you so much once again for having me on, Prime. Always happy to come on. And yeah, look forward to future bouts.
Sure. Thank you. All right. And next, oh man, I'm still so excited, still glowing, His name is Sharpie. Sharpie. An indescribable mod. A mod seriously, he's been here, I think the longest of the three here, I want to say. Sharpie, he's been here, part of my community for a long time. And he's been a great supporter, right? And again, though we are on the other side of this particular topic, right? I really very much respect Sharpie, I very much respect his mind. I just come to a different conclusion, but he's a great guy. Yeah, and we can see his wonderful face. Thank you, Sharpie. You can say stuff.
Well, it is what it is, right? So, in summary, twitch.tv/Pisco95. Follow him. He's great. His content is awesome. You'll love it, I promise. Yeah, so I don't know that we really got anywhere, which is probably where we always get on Twitch debates. So yeah, I don't really know. The reality is that if we want to get rid of these patent rights, that's fine. If we don't want to get rid of them, it probably doesn't make that big of a difference either way what we do. We're not going to get the vaccines any faster. More than likely, their side honestly leads to significant delays. We'll find out ultimately. Even President Biden now has sided on the side of Prime and said that we should get rid of these vaccine rights. If that inevitably happens, then we'll see what happens. We'll see if it becomes faster or slower. I have doubts significantly based on everything I've seen. I think the materials are significantly depleted, and that we'll end up with a bunch of vaccines that are not nearly as.
This is just supposed to be about you, buddy. This is you already gave your closing statement. This is just about you. Where are we gonna find you?
Okay, well, I'm done.
It. Okay, all right. It was just about you.
Have a good one, Chad.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so again, we're gonna go to open walk on panel. I respect everyone here, anyone who's in this panel. I respect you and your participation here. Anyone here as well, welcome to join us in our open walk on panel. If not, that's okay. Thank you for spending your time, your energy, your passion, your knowledge with my community. I know they appreciate it as much as I do. Have a great one, all of you. Bye.
Bye.